Hey you, yes you right there, you've been lied to, and let me explain why.
So everybody just keeps telling you that you should post more content, you should be more consistent, you should do more volume. But the truth is the top agencies aren't playing by the same set of rules. And let me explain why. They're using client acquisition systems that work on demand. They turn complete strangers into high-ticket clients. And well, the truth is, it's not sexy, it's not hypey, it's not viral. It works better than anything else in the game. So in this crash course, I'm breaking down everything that has taken our own lead generation agency to 125k a month without using paid ads. It's also the very same system that is helping hundreds of agency owners, coaches, and consultants sign high-ticket clients predictive. We're not gatekeeping anything. Every script, every SOP, every tool, every system, every automation tool will be mentioned in this video. I'm going to give that to you for absolutely free. So if you're serious about client acquisition in 2025, make sure you watch this video from A to Z, because I'm going to reveal all the secrets that I've learned along the path. I know it's a long video, but I've compiled every single thing you need to scale your agency to at least 50k a month using these predictable systems. I've taken a whole entire month just to lay out the plans for this video. I've compiled 25 of the most important topics. I've skipped all the irrelevant stuff that you don't need. So everything inside this video is going to be straight to the point. It's going to be value driven. So make sure you go through the whole thing from A to Z. Otherwise, you're not going to understand. I've included some timestamps below, so you can just skip around to the part that you have already watched and come back the next day. And just one final thing before we get into it is, if you simply follow what I lay out for you in this video, I can personally guarantee that you will not have any issues booking high quality appointments and signing high ticket clients. You're going to have more of an issue dealing with those clients and managing those clients, but we're going to get into that as well later in this video, so don't worry. That being said, strap in, grab yourself a cup of coffee, and let's get into it. Okay, so welcome. The first section is going to be about the tools and the exact systems that you need to have in place so you can book appointments and you can sign clients easily. So I'm going to cover all of the essential tools right here in quick high-level overview so you can get started with them and everything else you need to know in between. So let's just get straight into it. So these are all the tools you need to have a proper client acquisition system in place. I'm going to cover all the essential tools and just some quick info about them, what you should be using, what you should not be using. I'm going to give you my recommendations for all of them and what you really need just to get started. There's really only 5 software that is mandatory. So the right system will allow you to automate the process, streamline your operation, as well as focus on revenue generating activities. Because if you want to sign more clients and you're not doing outbound, inbound, paid ads, or referrals, you're wasting your time, right? So you want to get the essentials down right. If you already have these set up, good, go on to the next step. But if you're just starting out, make sure you go through this section. And if you're just more advanced, I recommend you to skim through it as well, because you might pick up a few things here and there also. Okay, so number 1, booking software setup. I recommend you to do Calendly. The reason is it's free, and I think it's 12 the one to have pre-call automations set up. It's very much so worth it. You can do one-click automations with it. You can embed it on your website. It looks very, very nice. I'm going to quickly show you how it looks on our website. All right, so this is how it looks on CropReach. So as you can see, it's embedded right here. It's very nice, very professional. We have CropReach discovery meeting. So you can either put like where the traffic source is coming from here. So it could be EM, could be email, or it could be Emilio, the closer, right? So if you have just a couple traffic sources and you have multiple closers, you can easily distinguish between them. You could use both as well. So for example, you could do like EM, which stands for email, and then you could do /JB. You could see it's from email, and Josh Beckham is taking the call. And then you can easily just click an appointment. And what we ask is name, email, some brief description, what industry, AgTech it is, and just please respect our time, and I will show up on the appointment. For scaling room, it's a little bit different, right? A little bit more simpler, because we don't want to divert the attention away, but we ask similar questions, right? So any questions, you can ask these pre-qualifying questions. EB stands for inbound. So generally, like all the traffic sources we bring is going to be inbound. That's why it's on the page. So we ask for whether or not, it's coach, agency, consultants, revenue, target revenue, what's stopping you from hitting the goal, and any type of information that could just save us a ton of time and get straight to the point and helping you fix those issues, right? So this is what you should be using Calendly for, as well as, when you're doing inbound or outbound marketing, send them the links to, these scheduling pages or wherever you embedded them so they can actually book a call with you. All right, so that's what Calendly used for. There's other alternatives like ChiliPipe and a whole bunch more like cal.com, right? Like a lot of schedules. They all do the same thing. I recommend you to use Calendly unless you're inside the Go High Level ecosystem, in which case you can just use their schedule. That's absolutely fine. All right, next up is calendar configuration. I'm going to recommend you to do Google Calendar. The reason is because you can organize your daily workflow and ensure that you stay on top of your current goals, your achievements. You could use any other calendar. I recommend Google Calendar because it syncs seamlessly with Calendly. So I'm going to quickly show you how a optimized calendar should look like. All right, so this is how a calendar should look like when it's optimized. As you can see, I have mapped out my sleep, my morning routine, agency, partner talks, generally when I eat my meals, and at what point I should be doing what. I have map work, inbound, outbound work. I take breaks in between these times. I go back to work, have a meal, and then just focus on sales call. Or if there's no calls, I just do map work, because at the moment, obviously we are hiring closers, but generally this is how it should look in your case if you're someone who's running their own agency and taking sales calls. So I reflected that, so you can just pretty much copy and paste this as well. Generally on Saturdays it's a little bit less crazy. I shoot some inbound content, check on clients, check on the team, and reflect and plan next week. And obviously you don't need to follow this like rigorously, but if at any point you get lost or you don't know what you should be doing, just go back to this and stay accountable. So really that's the purpose of a calendar setup. And you can obviously see the meetings pop up as well. I obviously hid them for the purposes of privacy. That's pretty much it. So Google Calendar done. Then we're going to move up to e-signature. So this is the contract software that we'll be using. First of all, you need to have people book calls with you. You need to see the calls. And then, once someone wants to pay, you need a contracting software, and finally like a payment gateway, which is going to be Stripe. We're going to talk about that shortly. So I recommend you to use e-signatures. You can use any of these recommendations. They're pretty much fine. Generally, we use this because it is just simple. It's $1 per contract. Nothing really beats it. Very cool. Very simple. I'm going to quickly show you how it looks from the inside. Like generally, this is how an agreement looks and how it is structured. It is very simple. Everything's laid out perfectly. You can just format it. You can amend it for free. So it costs $1 to send out the agreement. But if you want to make changes, it costs nothing. It costs absolutely nothing. So that's really cool. They also see the updated contract as well that you send them. Obviously, don't just copy what you see on the screen, create your own so it stays legally binding. Also, it is alignment with your own offer and everything else. Just wanted to show a quick example on how it looks. Okay, then we move on to Stripe. So Stripe, I don't think I need to introduce to you. You have most likely used it. It handles payments, processing, and financials very securely. All right, with Stripe, there's a couple things you can keep in mind. At the moment, I'm located in my hometown, Hungary, so that's why it is showing Hungarian prices, so don't worry about it. I'm going to explain how much this is. So this is foreign, so this is roughly about 25 cents or 25 pennies, wherever you are. So how the fees are made up is very simple. So 1.5% or 1.9% if it's within the European Economic Area, 2.5% for UK cards, 3.25% for any transaction on international cards. Also, if there's currency conversion, they're going to charge an extra 2%. And also, if there is currency conversion, they're going to charge a cross-border fee of 1%. So keep that in mind. If you're charging in US dollar, you're going to pay 3%, right? Because you need to transfer the currency, as well as there's going to be a cross-border fee. So that's 3% just for changing it if I want to perhaps pay it out in my local currency. So make sure to keep these in mind. Make sure to check out the fees. I do believe there is 0% fee on your local currency, like our Hungarian forints, but for US dollars at the moment, if you're outside the US, there is 1% fee. So if you're in Europe like we are, we generally just charge in euros and we get 0% fee. And if we charge in that, we can pay out inside our local European bank cards in euros, which again cost 0% fee. But if you charge someone in US dollars, we're going to pay 1% fee, and we're going to pay an extra 2% for converting it, and an extra 1% for cross-border fee. So that's 4% if you charge in US and then convert it to euros and then pay it out. So you need to keep this in mind with Stripe support and make sure you have this like dialed in. Like for example, like in our optimal cases, we get hit with a 2.5% plus obviously like the standard fee of 25 cents for a European customer. For US, we pay about 5.25. So obviously your case might differ, but make sure you keep in mind the pricing. Okay, and finally, Notion. So have a CRM configuration ready. We use Notion simply because it's free. You can organize data, track interaction, manage follow-ups, and overall, it is just very clean. Generally, we combine Notion with Docs, like as you can see like here on Google Doc. And I'm going to quickly show you how you should set up your Notion. If you need a template, we're going to provide one for you. Just click the first link in the description. It's going to be something that you just copy and paste. It's going to be a Notion template. I'm just going to quickly show you how it looks like and how you can use it. All right, so this is the template I've made for you guys. It is pretty much a carbon copy of what we're using. So as you can see, there we have the projects, routine views, where I should place the agency page, and here you can place like outbound or any type of folders you want. Here we have your goals, so you can have multiple goals. I generally recommend just have like at least 3. You can get into the details like first quarter, second, third, fourth review. And besides that, like you have the board view, like in the projects tab, have your idea, research, and active, and then you can hide it, right? So for example, find a way to scrape cheap targeted leads. If you're researching it, just move it here. If you found a way, it's active. And then if you don't want to see, you can just hide it, right? And you can put like details here as well. And also quarterly goals. You can see your quarterly goals here. Very, very simple. 20% needle mover activities, end of quarter reviews, some not to-do lists, what worked, what didn't work, some improvement. For each quarter, you can put your specific goals here and you can just revisit and touch back. And most important is the VOR map, right? So this is where you're going to put your tasks. I've just put some tasks here just for the sake of reference. So for example, if you want to do your website, you want to start on Wednesday and finish by Friday, you would move it like here. If you want to create a new task, like upload new lead lists for clients, so it's going to appear very simply here on the day that you selected. And it has 3 stages. You can add more. We just use 3. So not started, in progress, and done. So for example, if you're in progress of doing it, just click that, click done when it's done. And then you can add your comment, edit leads to clients, for example. And then you can just hover over and see, okay, this is what happened, right? And you can also do something which I recommend you to do. You can duplicate this view. You can rename this to weekly view, because at a certain point, it is just going to be a little bit too much to manage. So what you could do is you can have calendar layout, and instead of month, you could put week, and you can just see like the current week, like very simple, very clean. And if you want to see like the monthly layout, I'm just going to rename this for you. So by the time you're watching this video, it will already be there. There's weekly. You can see the whole month, the whole week. And as you can see, the tasks that you completed. So for example, let's say we did the website. As you can see, all the tasks are done, and you can put more. And finally, there's a finance tracker for you to keep all the finances a track in your account. There's a very simple income, expense. There is an overview as well as a planner. So your income and your expenses are going to show up here. Your account's going to show up here. Any transaction categories, don't mess with the database. And there's going to be charts here. We already used up our charts, and you can click new income or new expense, and you can just very easily just categorize it, like which account, if it's an income, if it's an expense, where did the money get, put into. It's the bank account, for example, let's say $1,000. A category could be, let's just put something like freelance earnings, right? And as you can see, $1,000 was added today, is March 21st, and it will show up on the graph for you as well as on your account at the bottom here. Perfect. So this is all about the CRMs. This is really all the essential tools. Make sure you have these ready. Make sure you have a booking software, calendar, configuration, contract software, finance software so you can take payments. Make sure it's legalized. The CRM software. So this is really it. I'm going to move on to client acquisition overview, which will give you a better understanding on the A to Z process of signing a client and how that looks at a high level overview. So I'm going to see you right there. Alright, welcome. You have made it into the first section of this video. We're going to cover client acquisition in a high level overview. So if you don't understand how you can sign clients from A to Z, we're going to cover this all for you. Even if you're a little bit more advanced, we're going to get into some tips and tricks that you can employ. Alright, so basically, a client acquisition is the backbone of any successful business. Without a predictable, repeatable system for acquiring new customers, businesses simply rely on inconsistent referrals, luck, or one-off marketing efforts. You don't want to fall among this category. So the key to sustainable growth is building a structured, systematic approach to client acquisition. This document will serve as a deep dive into client acquisition systems, detailing everything from the fundamental principles to advanced scaling techniques. So let's just get into it. All right. So understanding the client acquisition systems. So client acquisition system is a structured set of processes designed to attract, nurture, and convert leads into high-paying clients. The best system functions like a well-oiled machine, where each stage is seamlessly moving the prospect closer to purchasing from you. So here are the core components of the client acquisition system itself. We have the inputs. These are the raw materials of the system. So think of the traffic, the leads, the outreach campaigns, the content, etc. The process. This is the mechanism that moves the leads through the different stages. It could be your funnel, your messaging, your follow-ups, your retargeting, your sales page, etc. The output, finally, this is the result. So this is what you should be aiming for: the book calls, the closed deals, and the revenue generated. The feedback loop, which is a mechanism that collects data over time to improve efficiency. So think of conversion rate tracking, A/B testing, and all sorts of tracking. And finally, we have the environmental factors. So these could be external influences that you don't have any influence over. Could be market trends or your competition, the algorithms, paid ad regulation, stuff like this, right? So let's break this even further down. So greatest acquisition system breaks down client acquisition into 6 fundamental stages. Each stage acts as a subsystem that optimizes conversion at every step. So just follow along. So generating the attention. This is the first and most crucial part. So the first step is creating awareness about your offer. If you don't already have one, don't worry, we're going to cover that very shortly. Through outbound, inbound, or paid ads. So by the way, if you don't know, there's really only 4 strategies you can get clients in the door. So first of all, we have referrals. That's for more people who have clients already engaging with you and they have good word about you and just share it to their friends or their colleagues and they get a referral through that way. We have inbound. When you post content, people see it, they come to you. We have paid ads. You pay money and people see your content. And outbound is pretty much the same as well, except it is just much more cost effective and it is just overall better to start off with. We're going to focus this video entirely about outbound, so just bear with me. So basically, outbound strategies include cold calling, cold email, cold LinkedIn, direct messages on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So we have separated all of this and it will be inside this video later on, so just be patient. So we're going to cover cold email, social media outreach, cold calling, as well as messaging. Here are some of the inbound frameworks: paid ads, organic content, webinars, leveraging referrals, right? So either you get through outbound or inbound strategies, you get someone in the door and they are aware of your offer. So next we move them on to capturing interest. So once you've captured their attention, the next is to turn the attention to interest. So this involves creating touch points that engage prospects and encourage them to take action. So these tactics could include lead magnets. Don't worry, we're going to cover that as well. Landing pages, retargeting ads, value-driven emails, social proof. Increasing the number of touch points ensures that your prospects remains engaged, helping them build trust before they make a decision from you. It could be that they maybe watch just videos from you from YouTube, right? So there is a saying that someone needs to consume at least 7 hours of content from you before they purchase anything from you, right? So it could be just a video or just the sequences of videos. It could be that, you know, they think about you on their way to work, so that also included in this 7-hour period. Just make sure you flood them with value. And then we move on to booking the appointment, right? So once you have captured the interest, you move them to booking appointments. So the key to high appointment setting rate is just making sure the process is frictionless. It's simple as that. So here's how you can improve it. So use one-click booking links. Like I recommend you to use Calendly. Here's some few alternatives, but just use Calendly. Qualify leads with a pre-call questionnaire to make sure they're a good fit. in order to make this frictionless, don't ask 15 questions, just ask the most crucial ones. If you're not getting at least 5 to 6 calls a day, don't overdo it, don't ask too many questions, okay? Set up automated follow-ups for no response leads, as well as just in general, it works really well to make sure the leads show up. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So use social proof, leverage urgency, exclusivity. So for example, you could say that, hey, if you don't confirm the call, we're going to automatically cancel your appointment. This is what we do. This is what we teach our clients as well. This just creates urgency and exclusivity, right? So to take them action. That's the whole point, that they show up on the call. Okay, so increasing the show up rates, we briefly talked about this, but a book call doesn't mean prospect will show up. So to combat this, use confirmation page. Embed a short confirmation video reiterating the value of the call. You can again create urgency. What I recommend you to do is create a page like this, right? So once someone booked a call with us inside Scaling Room, it's pretty much the same for Crop Reach, our main agency as well, is we congratulate them. You have booked your appointment. I have sent you confirmation of the call and time date that you selected. Please make sure you put that in your calendar. Please watch this short video to confirm your appointment. So this whole video is just detailing, okay, confirm this appointment. We're going to be emailing you, we're going to be messaging you with useful information leading up to the call, and here's just a few things you should keep in mind, right? If they don't do it, we say we automatically cancel the call, which we do because we have closers, we have people who we don't want to waste their times for. So if they don't confirm the call, it's not worth anyone's time, right? So make sure that you do this. This is going to increase your show up rates to 90+% guaranteed, right? So if you do this, if you have a confirmation page after someone books, if you do the pre-call reminders that I'm about to show you, so 24 hours before the call, do something like your strategy call is tomorrow, please confirm 1 hour before the call, your call is in 1 hour, please show up on time. 15 minutes before the call. This one's optional at the moment. We're only doing 3. You could do this like 15 minutes or 5 minutes before the call. And post call, you could say something as well. You can automate that, but I recommend you to do it manually. So something we do as well is we send out iMessage or WhatsApp messages depending on where the prospect is from. We just record like a quick video just like this. Our closers record a video on their iPhone or just whatever phone they have, doesn't really matter. If they have an iPhone, we use iMessage. If they have, I think, an Android, they just use WhatsApp. Doesn't really matter at that point because prospect's going to see it anyway. So the point is they record a quick video that, hey, I'm Josh, I'll be taking your call from 6 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time, right? Something like this, just to introduce, get in touch, and make sure the prospect, again, just shows up. So really, this is all about it. Make sure you just increase the show up rate. And we're going to move on to before the last part, so closing the deal. So once the prospect is on the call, your goal is to convert them into paying clients. There is many ways to do it. I recommend you to have a one call close system. We're going to talk about that as well, don't worry. But it is just very, very simple. So either they pay on the call or they don't. Worst case scenario, they reschedule onto a second meeting with you where you can just bring more resources, or maybe they bring their decision maker on there as well if they were not on the call. So here's some strategies. Agitative solution: intensify the pain and the consequences of not taking action. Value stacking: just break down how your offer just competes and how it justifies the pricing. You want to complete on value and not pricing. We're going to talk about more as well. Risk reversal: just an offer guarantee. You could do trial closes as well, like some small agreements. So if you're selling like retainers and if you're struggling to sell like 3K retainers for like 3-4 month terms, what you could do instead is, if the prospect is hesitant on signing the retainer, you could just do, all right, man, no problem. So let's do a one-time setup fee of 3K for 1 month. If you don't like it, there's no guarantee, but you know, it's just a one-time thing. If it doesn't work out, you know, we can part ways, as opposed to, you know, doing the 4-month commitment, and they're much more likely to do it. You can also throw in like the guarantee as well, but this is just something you could do. Here's some objection handling frameworks. I need to think about it. It's too expensive. I need to talk with my partner. Go into that a little bit later on, so don't worry. I just want to show like a high-level overview of what you should expect in terms of like the whole client acquisition process. So finally, just refining and scaling the system. So the great client acquisition system never remains static. It evolves based on data. So this is going to be a common touch point in this video. Is I'm very technical. I like to track the data because I always say you can avoid the data, but you're gonna still pay the consequences of not improving, not changing based on the statistics, right? So don't be one of those people. I know sometimes the data can be bad, but you know, if you avoid it, nothing's gonna change. So key metrics to track: so ABR, that's appointment booking rate; show up rate; sales conversion rate. So calls that convert into clients. Fix the bottlenecks. So if you have low ABR, optimize your outreach, messaging, and targeting. Low show up rate, we already talked about that. Low sales conversion rate, improve closing strategy and objection handling. All right, so basically, again, just a high-level overview. I wanted to show you exactly what we're going to cover and how client acquisition just plays into role. We're going to dive into each specific segment, so how you can generate attention, how you can capture the interest. So really, this is just about the outreach strategies. This is like tactics, like the lead magnets, the landing pages, the value-driven emails, the case studies, the social proof, the messaging, your offer is all falls into here. Booking appointments, it's just very simple, just making sure that they move from the captured interest to booking appointment. We're going to talk about show up rates, we're going to talk about sales as well, and just finally service delivery as well. All right, just a conclusion, client acquisition is not about chance. It's a repeatable process, so make sure just remember that. When it's well optimized, businesses it allows you to scale efficiently. So just by implementing a structured lead gen system, businesses can be self-sustaining and they're going to create just basically a growth engine, right? So just key takeaways: treat client acquisition like a system, not a series of random tactics. Build strong inbound and outbound lead generation strategies. We're going to cover outbound in very high level detail in this video. Segment and qualify leads to focus on high intent prospects. Conversion process with structured sales interactions. Retain and scale by enhancing client experience and automating the process. So by following this framework, any business can eliminate uncertainty and client acquisition. So basically we have went over the whole client acquisition system in a high level overview. Next, we're going to talk about niche selection. So I'll see you there. All right, so niche selection, right? So why niche selection matters. We're going to talk about this as well as the offer and your pricing that I'm going to recommend you to pick. If you already have a niche, that's cool. I just want to make sure you go through the checklist at the end, so you can skip to that part if you already have a niche. Just make sure it all has the same ticks. You can tick all of these boxes, the keystone and general questions. Just make sure your niche is good, because if you're struggling with your niche that you picked, it's most likely because it doesn't go through the checkpoints. All right, so I'm going to cover exactly what those checkpoints are, what you should look out for, what's the common mistakes people make when picking a niche. So let's get into it. So selecting the right niche is one of the most critical decisions you can make inside of your business. So well-defined niche allows you to position yourself as an expert rather than a generalist, reduce competition by targeting a specific group, simplifying operations, marketing, sales, and fulfillment, as well as just making everything just more efficient. More on that later. Increase your chances of long-term success with a predictable, scalable system. So without a niche, businesses often suffer from lack of direction, high operational complexity, and just weak messaging that fails to attract clients and just falls on deaf ears. All right, so core principles. So first of all, the specialist advantage. So what does that mean, right? So generally struggle while specialists thrive. In business, deep expertise commands higher prices and attracts higher quality clients. So keep this in mind at all costs. Generally struggle while specialists thrive. Consider these examples. So a general doctor earns significantly less than a heart surgeon. A freelance marketer competes with thousands, while Facebook ad expert for startups on the SaaS space has a defined audience and authority and much less competition, and is more likely to make more money and stand out, right? Because he solves a very specific problem. Being a specialist just makes it easier to build trust, charge premium prices, and just differentiate yourself from the competition. All right, so this is just about the specialist advantage. Make sure to remember this. Generalists struggle while specialists thrive. All right, so niche complexity formula. I briefly mentioned this. What is operational complexity? So operational complexity is like this. So for example, you have one niche, you have one offer, you have one sales funnel, you have one website, you have one pitch, you have one offer. So one of everything, right? So one cold message. If you have two niches, you have to have two offers, two websites, two pitches, two sales funnel, right? So every time it multiplies the operational complexity by 2. If you just add up 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, multiply it, it's going to be 1. If you add up all these, it's going to be a long number. So that's just a theory. Obviously it's not as simple. It's not like concrete mathematics, but you get the point. What I'm saying is, if you have 2 or more of everything, it's just going to make everything just super complex and ultimately you're going to lose out on a ton of money because you cannot scale two things properly at once. So just make sure to remember that. All right, so just managing one niche again allows for streamlined marketing, sales, efficient fulfillment, improved client experience. Single niche simplifies everything, like I said. So the market ecosystem fits. So your business, just remember this, your business is part of a market ecosystem. Like any ecosystem, survival depends on finding a functional role that delivers value. So if you cannot do that, so without a clear purpose, your business risks being ignored and outcompete. All right, so just make sure you have this down. I'm going to show you how you can avoid this and finding your market ecosystem fit. So first of all, how to choose a profitable niche. Step one, identify market demand. Ask yourself these questions. Does the niche have a clear and urgent problem? If so, yes, okay, move on to the next one. Are businesses or individuals actively searching for solutions? If yes, okay, move on to the next one. Do competitors exist and are they successful? If so, cool, move on to the next one. But before we move on to it, let me just explain, right? So the thriving competitor market indicates demand. Contrary to popular belief, niche saturation can be a good thing. You can stick out by creating a no-brainer offer. So we're going to talk about more on that later in 5 to 10 minutes probably. So make sure you just go through this niche video first. I'm going to give you an example, which is very easy to understand. So local gyms often struggle with client acquisition and client retention in general. If specifically focus on solving this problem for them, you could create a offer revolving around a specific niche, subsegment of niche of the gym section, which could be niche offering client retention automation for fitness businesses, right? Which addresses a clear need. This niche is probably the most saturated one since obviously Hormozy introduced it, but you could still stand out if you find something like this. Obviously you need an urgent problem and a lot more that we're going to cover. So make sure they have an urgent problem. They're seeking actively a solution to fix it, and make sure that active and successful competition. All right, step two, evaluate profitability. Very simple. Can they afford your high ticket solution? Are they spending money on similar solutions? Are there successful businesses operating the space? Does the niche typically generate consistent revenue streams? So you can ask yourself this question. If sure, then move on to the next one. All right, so step three, access market growth. So you don't want to get into a shrinking market. So for example, newspaper companies are shrinking by 20% annually. You don't want to get into newspaper companies, right? So you're going to lose out on a ton of money. Emerging trends and innovations is what you should be looking out for. You know, increased trends like AI and stuff like this. Growing demand, you could check like news, forum sites, financial reports. Also, like a good sign is increased hiring or just recent fundings within a specific niche. All right, step four, measure accessibility. So niche must be easy to reach. So we want to make sure you can reach out to the people in the first place. So are they active in communities like Facebook groups, LinkedIn, Reddit? Can you easily acquire their contact info, their email, their social media? Are decision makers reachable via cold outreach, inbound marketing? If a niche has gatekeepers blocking the access like medical offices screening all outreach, it could be very, very difficult to just penetrate and get inside that very niche. So you got to keep these all in mind. It gets a little bit complex, but I've simplified it for you towards the end. So if you go through all of these, it's going to make sense. I've prepared a checklist for you that you can check and see if your niche is good or not. All right, so step five, finally, your success in a niche depends on your ability to understand it and communicate with your audience. So make sure you ask yourself these questions. Do you have existing knowledge in the industry? So for example, if you're a software developer, you might as well should get into software development companies, or just custom software development companies or SaaS companies, and just help them figure out something. So we're gonna figure out the offer that you should be helping them with in the next section. So just stay tuned. All right. Are you also passionate about solving problems in this niche? Can you speak their language and address their pain points effectively? So choosing a niche for solely profitability without interest often leads to burnout, lack of authenticity, and people are just going to see through the lies and that you don't know, you don't speak the language, you don't have knowledge, right? So make sure you go through this as well. All right, so common mistakes before we get into the checklist itself. So worrying about competition and fear of saturation. We already talked about this, but let me just break this down. So a niche with competition is a good thing. So it proves that there is demand. There's proofs it has money in the niche. Instead of avoiding competition, just focus on positioning yourself uniquely within the niche itself. So example could be if Facebook ads for coaches is just too crowded, narrow down to Facebook ads for fitness coaches specializing in weight loss, right? So that's something a little bit more narrow. Think of it like this, right? So again, like fitness coaches, gyms, very crowded. This as well, just try to narrow it down, try to segment it down, because obviously the niche has money in it. So if you want to get into a niche like this, make sure you segment it down. All right, so finally, fear of saturation. Markets don't saturate, weak offers and outdated marketing methods do. So let me just repeat this. So markets, they don't saturate, weak offers and outdated marketing methods do. If you innovate and create unique offers, you can stand out regardless of your competition. Finally, what you've been waiting for is this niche selection waitlist, or if you skipped around to this part of the video because you already have a niche, then welcome. So make sure you check the keystone questions. So this is everything we already talked about. So does your niche have a painful problem that they are actively trying to solve? If yes, okay, move on to the next one. Is the niche growing, not shrinking? Yes, okay, go on to the next one. Can the niche afford a high-ticket solution? Yes, go on to the next one. Are there at least 30,000 potential clients in the niche? Yes, okay, on to the next one. Is there proof of competitors succeeding in the market? Yes, okay, then move on to the general question. And one more thing, make sure all of them are true. I put a note for you, so must all be true to proceed. If one of them is not true, if there's not at least 30,000 potential clients, don't proceed. If it's shrinking, don't proceed. Again, with the newspaper companies, don't proceed. And then we move on to general questions. At least have 70% of these right. If you have more, that's obviously you're gonna do much better. So have at least 4 of these ticks. Do you find this niche interesting? Is it easy to contact decision makers in this niche? Can you deliver your service or solution with low operational complexity? Does this niche engage online, social media, forums? Can your marketing message stand out from your competitors? Can you create unique high-value offers for this niche? Well, if you have 4 out of 6, then you can move on to the next one. Ideally, it should be 6 out of 6, but that's obviously a perfect world. If you don't have that, that's fine. Just at least have these marked and 4 of these. So again, if they fill the keystone question, just restart. And if it scores below 70% on the general questions, just restart. All right, so niche market research. So once you have selected your niche, just conduct deep research to understand it deeply so you can create your offer, which we're going to get into next. What keeps your target audience up at night? Where do they currently seek their solution? What objections and fears prevent them from taking action? What words or phrases do they use to describe their problems? Do they talk about signing clients or talk about signing contracts, right? It's a differentiator. If you don't really know this, it's going to be a big red flag for them that you don't know what you're doing. The research methods. So you could do surveys, interviews, analysis on Google, just study competitors as well. You could check industry reports, like read market trends, financial reports, forecasts, news articles, engage in communities as well. I think this is like the biggest one, like go into Reddit. There's like a whole bunch of forums. If you're trying to help fitness coaches, go into Reddit and see what their problems are. Just spend like hours there, and you're gonna learn, you know, what keeps them away at night. So final thoughts. If not, you're not married to a niche forever, but you know, consistency is key. So like the old saying, when was the best time to plant a tree? It was 20 years ago. If you failed to do so then, start today, right? The more experience you have in a niche, the better you're gonna do long term, and the more money and the more success you're gonna have. Avoid picking 2 niches. We already talked about this, because this is just going to lead to a ton of operational complexity. It's just gonna make you much less money in the long run. So don't do it. The more specific the niche, the better you can position yourself as the authority. Decide quickly. So action is more important than endless deliberation. Right now, I just want to give you a quick help. I've created a niche list for you. So if you made it as far inside this video as you have, congratulations. Here's a niche list. It's going to be linked in the description. So to get started, you can just click this document and open it up. I'm going to quickly show you exactly what this is about. I've copy pasted the niche selection checklist that we already went over. So one thing, like the keystone questions, they're all true for this niche page, this niche list that I've compiled for you. The general questions I left unchecked, so you can just make yourself a copy. You can just come here, make yourself, click file, make a copy, and you can click the general questions, because obviously those are questions that reflect for you and what you do personally. All right, so let's just think of an example. So we have 66 pages, so each page has one niche and we show you exactly. So let's just, I don't know, pick one, right? So home installation, I show you if it's B2C, if it's B2B, right? So if it's B2C, you can help them with B2C offers. If it's B2B, you can help them with B2B offers. Like for example, B2C doesn't work with cold emails. So if you're looking to do cold emails in as your offer, which we're going to talk about in probably 3 minutes from now, it's not going to work, right? You should look for B2B niches that I've compiled for you. Let's just think of this as an example. Average salary, home installations make 90k, so it's a medium ticket. Difficulty is medium, and it's unsaturated. It's a big industry. It's high ticket. And outreach strategies could do cold calls, voicemail, SMS, email, LinkedIn, Facebook. And here I've shared my experiences and insights with the niche and the final verdict, whether or not I recommend it, whether or not I do not recommend it. But most of these niches are good to start off with. Just make sure you go through them, make sure you pick one that you like, and then we can move on to the offer crafting. So I'll see you there. All right, so we're gonna get into offer creations. If your audience isn't engaging with your content, it is because your hook isn't strong enough or your offer isn't clear. So most people overcomplicate this, but in reality, success comes down to a few simple things, right? So there can only be 4 parts to any offer, and these are made up simply of the following. So you need an intro, you need a hook, you need a call to action, and a guarantee, which is not necessary, but it's good to have. It's optional. So an intro, use a compelling headline from the templates below. I'm going to show you how you can just use that. Make sure your audience feels like your content was made specifically for them. I'm going to give you examples for all of these. I just want to quickly show you exactly what this entails. So a hook is just going to present the problem, right? So focus on a specific pain point, struggle, or misconception your niche faces. Could be most online coaches struggle with client acquisition. 3, invite them to pursuit. So that's the call to action, lead them to the next step, encourage them using if then statement. If I send you a short video explaining how this works, could be an example of call to action. Finally, risk reversal, that's the guarantee. Reverse all the risk by creating a win-win solution and a no-brain offer they feel stupid saying no to. Pay for 14 days. If you're not blown away, I'll personally send you all of your money back. Let's get into more detail into all of them, but the most important part is the hook itself, right? So if you get this wrong, everything's just going to fall apart for you. It's not going to work. So if you get the hook wrong, you're going to struggle. So I'm going to show you in detail how you can do that right. All right, so first of all, so intro must instantly hook the reader by making them feel like the content, again, was just made specifically for them. So there are a few effective hooks that you can use. So first of all, the problem solution intro. So struggling to book consistent calls, ... So then you can get into the next step. So this is again just about the intro. You've been posting daily, but no one engages. Sick of spending hours in DMs with no results. So it identifies a pain point that the prospects might be facing and promises a solution, right? So it just creates curiosity because you don't reveal anything. Again, that's the whole point for the hook. The intro is just there to really just identify a pain, like struggling to book calls constantly. Examples are shown here below. So second one is shock and curiosity intro. So I wasted 20,000 on back courses before I figured out ... This one tweak added 30k to revenue, no ads, no cold calls. Most businesses fail because of this one simple mistake. Again, it just creates curiosity and forces people to read on. Bold and controversial claim intro. Again, there could be like a whole bunch of more they could put in here. These are like the 3 we like to use. These are the ones that we see the best engagements with. So finally, again, just a bold controversial claim intro. So cold calling is dead ... Posting on social media daily is a waste of time. So you want to go against common beliefs and just trigger people, right? So 90% of agencies undercharge. What the hell? I've been told that I'm overcharging, right? So what do you mean 90% of agencies undercharge, right? So again, you want to create controversy. So you can always just use a simple intro as something like, hey, first name, but you know, stuff like this works better, right? Then we get into hook, which again, I covered as the most important. It's probably going to take the longest to explain, but if you just follow like this simple 5-minute guide that I'm about to show you on this exact topic, trust me, you're gonna never face issues just creating hooks, creating no-brainer offers. So just bear with me for a few minutes. If you cannot follow this, you're gonna create bad offers. So just follow what I'm about to lay out for you. So if your audience isn't engaging with your content, it's because your hook is not strong enough or your offer isn't clear, right? So most people overcomplicate marketing, but in reality, success just comes down to a few things: just getting attention, holding attention and driving attention to your traffic source, right? So that's really all about it. That's the whole point of a good hook. So example of a good versus a bad hook, right? So bad hook is I help businesses grow. That's a desire, that's an end result, which I'll explain later. But you know, it's just vague. It doesn't really do anything. Okay, you help businesses grow. How? In what time frame? What do I gain from it? How do I know I can trust you? Versus a good one, I help roofing contractors, right? A little bit more specific. Get 15, 20 new leads. Okay, if they're having that problem, perfect. Per month, right? So within a time frame, without spending a dime on ads. They're like, oh, okay, I've been contacted by all these agencies who want to run Facebook ads for me, but here's this guy says they're not spending a dime and just generating 15, 20 leads per month. And you know, you could even tweak this to make it even more crazy, is just by adding a risk reversal. Again, you could add that as well at the end, but that's not part of the hook. This is just the hook itself, not the whole offer, right? So again, the offer is made up of the intro, the hook, call to action, and guarantee. Remember this. Okay, so key difference: weak hook, too broad, too vague. The strong hook is specific, solves a pain point, and sets clear expectations. So here are some things you should keep in mind. So a formula for a strong hook is who you help, what specific results you deliver for them, and what system methods do you use. So a unique process. I'm going to give you the 5 essential elements of a high converting hook, so make sure you follow these rigorously. So desire and result. So you want to include this in pretty much every single hook out there. What does your target audience want? Be specific. A time frame. How fast can you get it? The shorter, obviously, the better. You need a benefit or a selfish desire. Why do they want it? Emotional motivators work best here, right? Without challenge or fear, what's stopping them? Address their biggest obstacle. And finally, using a unique system. You don't need to use all of them. Just combine a few to have the best results. So great hooks makes your audience feel like the post was made just for them. All right, so I'm going to give you some examples on all of them and some frameworks. So hook, frameworks, and templates. So let's start off with desire and results. This is the direct address hook. We're going to address their problems, right? What do they want? Use niche specific words if you can, and directly address your audience. So examples could be how to get high paying clients without overworking yourself, how to add 30 pounds to your deadlift without injuring yourself or injuring your back, how to lose 10 pounds without starving yourself, right? So the more specific your hook, the stronger your response is going to be. Example, if your name is Sarah and you're a busy mom trying to lose weight, this trick will help you drop 10 pounds in 30 days. All right, next up is time frame. So people want results fast. Time-based language increases the urgency. So examples could be how to lose 10 pounds in 10 days without starving yourself. Crazy bold offer, right? How to add 10K to your business instantly, no ads required. Crazy bold offer, right? But then obviously you need to back this up. How I landed 5 clients overnight using this 1-point appointment booking system. Pick the shortest realistic time frame which you can achieve the results. Shorter the better. You don't want to do something that is unrealistic because it's just going to turn prospects off. I mean, even these cases are a little bit pushing it, right? Okay, then we have benefit and selfish desire. So this is the selfish desire hook. People aren't looking for results. They want what results will give them, right? So examples, how to lose 30 pounds. Who cares, right? I don't want to lose 30 pounds. I want to look incredible on the beach. How to build a 6-figure business so you can quit that 9-to-5 job and travel. How to get high-paying clients so you can buy your dream car, right? So identify your audience, real motivation, status, freedom, confidence, security, right? All of them. Here's just a few examples. And don't worry, these are not the only examples. I've compiled like a 5-page document with real world offers that you can use. Again, it's all going to be linked in the description, so you're gonna get access to this document as well. Or without challenge or free, to show them you understand their struggle and provide a clear solution. So examples could be how to get high paying clients, and again, just address the fear, risk reversal without challenge or fear. So what their challenge might be could be that they don't want to do cold calling, so you could do without cold calling or without paid ads. How to lose 10 pounds without giving up that pizza. How to build a 6-figure business even if you have no experience, right? So the best hooks remove common excuses or just general fear. Finally, we could use through a system, a custom system. So you could use a custom solution for your name, for your product that sounds unique and sparks curiosity. Again, just the whole point is just to spark curiosity, go against the common trends with the whole hook, right? The hook is just to hook them in, get them interested in the offer, get them them onto a call, you show them what you do, you sell them, and that's the point. By the way, don't be intimidated to create crazy bold offers if you can back them up. Don't say outright lies, but you could like twist the truth. Like for example, if we go back to this, I landed 5 clients overnight using this one-click appointment booking system, right? It could have been that you just booked like 10 sales calls and you closed 5 of them because you implemented something new, right? It sounds crazy bold, but if it's true, if you can back that up with data, that's absolutely fine. And most likely or not, like the prospects are not going to remember the exact offer or hook that got them onto the call. And if they do, you can still just explain to them that what you do, how you do, and they're gonna understand, right? There's always that one person that, hey, you told me that this works exactly like this sounds a little bit off, but you know, the point is to get them on the call and then you explain exactly how you do it. So you don't want to twist the truth, but you want to make it sound as compelling as possible. So this is really all about copywriting, right? So you're not deceiving anyone. The goal is to get them onto the meeting, because you know, ultimately their goal is there to help that prospect, because you have a service, you have a product that is potentially going to change them, their lives. So if you're not doing everything in your power to convince them to get them onto a meeting, even though it might be a little bit deceiving in your eyes, if you use something like this, you're just losing out on helping them. So you're actively just going against them. So your goal should be to help those people, right? So you need to do everything in your power to get them onto that call, to introduce your solution, your product that is potentially going to change them, their lives. So you need to do everything in your power to do this. All right, a little bit of a tangent, but let's get back to through a system. So we're just going to name a custom system that is, again, just sparks curiosity. So how to get 10 contracts through a one-point booking system. We already mentioned this, I do believe, here. How to reduce anxiety through ancient Chinese stretching routine. How to feel motivated to work out again through a 30-minute sprint workout. Add mystery, right? Just make them think, what could that be? All right, so this was really all about the hook. Make sure you go through this again. I'm going to give you again the document if you need to view it for yourself, or you need to make a copy. Just come here, click file, make a copy. You can use it on your own, as well as the frameworks which are yet to come. But finally, before we get into it, we're going to talk about the call to action and the guarantee on how you should use it. So 3 call to actions I like to use, and I'm going to explain the differences for each of them. So call to action to tell the people exactly what to do next. So that could be 3 types. So direct, hard, and soft. So the direct one is the subtle and conversational one. So best for warmer leads, networking, low pressure offers. So example could be, if I said I could get you 10 qualified leads this week, would that be interesting? Something like this doesn't feel like a hard sell. It engages the prospects in a low commitment way and encourages a natural conversation. So a hard call to action, on the other hand, this is a direct action based. This is for hot leads, direct sales, getting book calls, right? So let's hop on a 15-minute meeting. Here's my calendar. Book a strategy session now. I can solve this for you. Grab a slot here. Straight to the point, no fluff, works best if the lead is already interested. Usually hard to pull off for, you know, people that are cold, because it's just going to raise their sales resistance. In that case, you need to use a soft call to action, which is low commitment and is going to nurture the lead. So best again for cold leads, warming up the prospects and building those relationships in the first place. So it could be, mind if I send you a short video explaining how this works, John? Right? Of course, yeah, send me that. Want me to send over a case study showing exactly how we did this for company, right? I put together a free guide on topic. Want me to send it over? Remove the pressure, right? Just feels like a value-added offer. Great for lead nurturing, follow-ups. Easy for people to say yes without committing to a call. All right, make sure you use these, and I'm going to show you how you can combine all of them at the end. Finally, guarantee. A strong guarantee just eliminates the fear, makes your offer a no-brainer. So make sure you use this if you can. Money back guarantee is just the ultimate risk reversal. So if you don't book at least 10 calls in 30 days, I'll refund you every penny that you. If this strategy doesn't work, doesn't double your sales, you don't pay. People feel safe knowing they cannot lose. This is probably the best, the ultimate risk reversal. Performance guarantee. So results-based confidence. So get 10 high-ticket clients in 90 days, 60 days, or we work for free. So this is what we sort of are doing inside Corporate. This works great because you can create good offers. You could say, get 10 high ticket clients in 60 days or you don't pay, which, you know, again, it just showcases confidence in your offer. And if you don't get them that clients in 60 days, you just refund them the money. So that's the whole offer itself, right? So experience guarantee eliminates buyer hesitation. So this is something like for SaaS or lower ticket products. Love it or leave it, no contract, no pressure. Not happy after the first call? I'll give you a free session until you are. So this could be coaching. This is 100% risk-free. If you don't love it, you don't pay. Again, this is something for low ticket like a SaaS or something. This just reduces hesitation and just removes pressure. I recommend you to use the performance one, or if you can, just the full money back guarantee. So final thoughts from me, how to apply this. Pick one hook formula and use it for your next piece of content. Write your offer using the frameworks I've provided down below. Use a strong call to action. If you follow this guide, you will never struggle with creating hooks, offers, and starting conversations. Start implementing today. So again, it's going to be linked in the description. You can just click this document. It will take you straight away to this file. You can make a copy. And what I want you to do right now is just make a copy if you haven't already done so, and create your own offers, right? So just write at least 5 of them. I've created the templates, I've color coded them and written out what each section does. If you don't exactly know yet what it does, so you can just scroll back up here, or maybe open it in another tab, so you can have it like a split screen. You can have, okay, so I need to do a desired end results. You have it on the left side, the right side, you have the offer, right? Just make sure you write at least 5. If you're really good, write a bonus one, which I've compiled for you. This is a really complex one, but basically, like, just create this, like how to desired results within time frame. I've already showed you how to do it. Don't just like copy this like word for word. Create something new. The goal is to get you thinking, right? The goal is to get you familiar with writing your own offers, right? So another thing, if you made it this far, congrats again. Here's another trinket. This is going to be a common theme, so if you watch it until the end of each section, I'm going to give you something to make it worth your while, just linked in the description. So here's the frameworks that you can use. This is, I think, like 4 pages of just high converting offers and hooks and examples, right? So examples for direct address hooks, time-based hooks, selfish desire hooks, challenge-based hooks. Are you struggling? If you want desired results, watch this. Just so many different examples, right? So it's super cool, something I compiled over the years. I've given some ultimate formula as well. Offers that stood the test of time, like 2-day free shipping, 1-click purchase, 4-hour work week, delivered in 30 minutes of free. This is Domino's, this one's Amazon. 0 down payment car loans, lose £10 in 10 days or your money back. And famous marketing codes like consulting.com, right? Achieve 7 figures in Amazon, everything store, Facebook, connect with people you love. So something like this should get your mind racing on how you can create good hooks and good offers. So that being said, let's move on to pricing models. Alright, so once you have created your hook, as well as you picked the niche, you have picked your offer, it's time to create your pricing model, pick your pricing model. So I'm going to explain what I recommend, what I don't recommend. To start off with, even if you're a little bit more advanced, I'm going to show you some advanced tips you might not have thought about. So let's get into it. Choosing the right pricing model for your business is one of the most crucial decisions, again, you can make. Same thing with the offer, same thing with the niche. If you have these 3 right, you have a good solid foundation. The right model aligns incentives between you and the client. It ensures scalability and customer satisfaction. Ultimately, it just creates something of a win-win relationship between you as well as the client. So this document is just going to show you exactly the most effective pricing models, their advantages, the disadvantages, and the frameworks for selecting the best approach for your business. So first of all, before we get into the pricing models, I want you to understand the pricing strategy. So before diving deep into it, here are just a few key factors you should keep in mind. So value perception. Client must perceive your service as valuable compared to the competitors. So if you don't have these dialed in, doesn't matter which of these you pick, you're not going to have people signing up. You need to have a risk reversal. The lower the risk for the client, it's easier for them to jump. So think of it like this. So imagine yourself as the client. Like if you position yourself with the offer to the client, if you were the client, would you buy from them, right? Would you buy from yourself? If the answer is no, then you need to go back to the drawing boards, right? So it's a big problem. And don't just say yes because it's your own offer. Just be, objective about the fact that, okay, this is actually something. If someone came to me out of the blue, I would go with this offer. If you cannot say that, about your offer, just go back to the drawing board. All right, so risk reversal, again, just make sure you have something going on, because if you don't, it means that you're not confident in your offer, you're not confident in your services, and again, just need to go back to the drawing board and fix that. Okay, so scalability, make sure your pricing model should allow you to handle multiple clients efficiently. Market expansion, understanding what your competitors charge ensures that you remain competitive, so make sure price competitively. Revenue predictability, so some pricing models are more stable than others, while others just fluctuate. I'll explain what I recommend you here. So just make sure keep these in mind. If you don't have this going, just go back to the drawing board. Here are the 10 proven pricing models that I have compiled for you. I'm going to show you what I recommend when you're just starting out, a little bit more advanced as well. I'm going to give you a good pricing model you should be implementing. All right, let's get into it. So retainer, we all heard of this. This is the golden goose. This is the gold standard people want to get into, but I'll explain why this is not the best model that you should be aiming for, right? So retainer is the 2-3k monthly payments. So again, they just pay you a monthly fee, gives you predictable revenue, but after a bad month, clients will likely churn, so it's hard to scale. Best for established businesses with case studies and proven service delivery. So really, what's best besides a retainer is a big setup fee, right? Or a big installation fee. So instead of just paying like 2-3k a month, what's better is just getting 10 grand right off the bat for like a 3-4 month engagement, right? It's just much better. All right, pay per lead model, how it works. Very simple. Client pays for each lead delivered. Pros can be easier to sell to physical businesses. Quality control issues, so clients may dispute leads locally. This is really for local lead generation agencies. I don't recommend you to do it. I'll explain why, because there are two models that are better. So pay per appointment, I recommend you to use this over the pay per lead. This is when clients pay for scheduled meetings with prospect. The pros are higher value than leads, and the cons requires a solid show up rate to justify the price. If you implement what I've shown you with the 90+% show up rate trick, you're not going to have any problems, right? Good. This is best for B2B agencies, high ticket services. Pay per show model, so this is when the client pays only for attended appointments. This maximizes client confidence, although again, I don't recommend because it's super hard to track. This is best for agencies that, you know, that can control the appointment confirmation process. For a few clients, it's okay, you can confirm, right? So you could do like something like, okay, send me a picture of you sitting in the meeting if the client no showed, right? You could do something like that. But if you have like a whole bunch of clients, it's very hard to track. For example, they could edit the picture whereas the client didn't show up, and they did show up, and you would have no way of knowing. So don't do this. Just stick to the pay-per appointment. You don't want to get scammed. So moving on, revenue share model. So this is when you take a percentage of revenue generated. This could be the revenue share, profit share, pretty much the same thing. So revenue is just what the business collects when you help them sign a client. The profit is the profit they make off of the client they signed. Pros are highly effective, but you know, the problem with this, it's high risk for disputes, and it just requires deep integration with client data. And again, same problem with this. Really no way you can like accurately track this with a lot of clients. They need to give you like a whole bunch of access, and even that they could just like screw you over. So it's not good. If you have some established clients, maybe you could just introduce this to them, but don't do it, right? You cannot track it realistically. Like, how are you going to know that they closed the deal? This is more of like, I trust you type deal. And even then, you know, if you bring someone a 100k deal, then 10% of it should go to you because of the revenue share model. They're gonna be like, okay, nothing happened, right? So you don't want to use these. I'm just showing you what is out there. Some people telling you to use like revenue share and like a setup fee are just, they don't know what they're talking about. All right, so setup fee and performance fee models. So this is something really strong. This is really good. I recommend this if you're someone starting out. So clients just pay initial setup fee and then just performance fee, right? Covers the upfront costs for you, so there's no downside to you while keeping incentives aligned. Can be difficult to justify if the setup fees are high. So for example, you could do like 500 setup fee if you're really just starting out, and this should really cover like for maybe a month or two for the outbound engagement. Or you could do like something slightly higher, like a 2k setup fee, and really that covers more, and you get some profit from this as well. And you also get performance fee. So for example, you could use this with the pay per appointment, which I recommend. This is a really good like pricing model, like charge like 2k. This is something like easy people can pay, or just charge like 1.5k setup fee, right? So that's like a decision people can make on the spot. So charge something like a 1.5, 2k setup fee, and then charge like, well, it depends, right? So 100, 200, per call, right? You could do something like this, but I'm going to show you exactly how you should price the charge per call at the bottom. So just stick with me. All right, free trial. I'm not going to get into it. Don't do it. Not recommended for anyone. You're going to get the lowest of the barrel, low commitment, low life paying clients that they don't convert. So people associate value with money. If they don't pay you anything, if you book them a ton of appointments, they're not going to show up on them. They're not going to try as hard. They're not going to close any. So don't do it. Don't waste your time. Try to get clients onto something like this if you're new, or even something like this, like the pay per appointment and no setup fee, so you like have some skin in the game. All right, upfront results, discrepancy guarantee model. So how it works: clients pay upfront for promised results with refunds for unmet targets. So think of it like this, right? So you charge them $100 for each call, and then they agree to, okay, I'll bring you 20 calls. So you pay me, of course, 100 times 20, that's 2K for the 20 calls, right? So if you only get them 18 calls, you're gonna refund them $200. So that's the deal, right? That's the gist of it. And again, if you go over that, you could just charge the same amount. Like if you get 22 calls, you charge them 200 more, right? Builds trust, requires precise tracking though. I don't recommend it. Just use setup fee and performance. All right, stealth retainer. So how it works is you start off with a performance-based fee and later transition into a sneaky retainer. You could put this in the contract, but obviously make sure they know it's there. And don't just charge them after like 3 months that, hey, here's a retainer. It's not going to end well. Pros, it's easy to sell. A strong service delivery to retain the clients. I would say this is all around the best model. So you start off with a setup fee and a performance fee per booked appointment, and then later transition to retainer. That's chef's kiss, okay? Just use that. Obviously, that's for more proven agencies. If you're just starting out, do something like the pay-per appointment or something like this, because don't try to sneak a retain in the agreement if you don't know what you're doing. All right, finally, marketplace model. So how it works, this is an advanced model. Charge a small fee for a high-value lead magnet and pass the lead to businesses. So it creates additional revenue stream, requires strong marketing and niche expertise, best for e-commerce and just lead generation agencies in general. If you don't understand this, don't bother, just use the others I mentioned. All right, so choosing the right ones, just make sure it sets your risk tolerance. So high risk aversion, performance-based model, low risk aversions, retainer models. You want to have some skin in the game. You want to be able to put your back behind your word and your offer, validate your cash flow needs. So need stable revenue, retainers, setup fee, performance, comfortable with variable income. You can do pay on results or just big setup fees. Consider scalability, highly scalable, subscription-based retainer models, lowly scalable pay-per results models. Look at competitors, just compete on value again, not price, offer unique risk reversal guarantee. All right, so pricing guidelines. I'm not going to break down every single one because you see it on screen. You can pause the video, or again, if you want to, this document will also be included. You can just make a copy like so. It's going to be all in the description. If you want it, you can just have it for free. I don't really mind, you can use it on your own. So basically, how much to charge if you're charging per lead, per show up, or revenue deal, right? I recommend you to do this, right? So per lead, if it's low ticket, 5%, per appointment, 10%, per show, 15% revenue share, then do this amount, like 25%. Mid ticket, right? So I'll give you an example. So very critical, you pick one that fits your current strategy, right? So if you're just starting out, just do the pay per appointment or the 6th one. If you're more advanced, I recommend you to do the 9th, the stealth retainer. That's the best one by far. Or you can do retainer, but again, the problems I already mentioned, it's not the best if after a bad month, generally like the clients are more likely to churn. But if it's on performance, that's good, because you know at that point you can prove yourself, and it still goes on to retainer. Yeah, sure. But you know what you could do if retainer fails, you can make them go back to a performance deal. But generally you should not have any problems keeping these clients long term. All right, so this was it about pricing. We're gonna move on to the A to Z sales process. I'm gonna show you exactly what you need to look out for when selling to prospect, because at this point you understand the client acquisition overview, you have picked your niche, you have an offer ready, you have picked your pricing model. So now it's time to understand how you're going to sell to them. So I'll see you there. Okay, so welcome inside this A to Z scaling process overview. I'm going to show you exactly the journey that the prospects take from initial contact to a closed deal. So this is going to be a high level overview. We're not going to dive deep just yet. Well-defined sales system ensures consistency, predictability, and higher conversion rates. This guide will walk you through each stage of the sales process and outlining the key actions best practices. All right, so let's get started. So number one is prospecting. So this is when you identify and reach out to the leads. So number one, you need to find the prospect. You need to define your ideal client profile based on the industry, the revenue, company size, pain points. You could use tools like these. Don't worry, not going to mention them in detail at the moment because we're going to get into detail about them very shortly. So again, just a high level overview for you to see the exact journey that a prospect takes inside the sales funnel. So you could use these outreach strategies: cold email, cold calling, social selling, inbound. All right, so again, just prospecting. Once you have that, there is the stage which is called pre-discovery call. This is the qualification, the pre-framing. So pre-call engagement, make sure you send them pre-call material, case studies, testimonials, and explainer videos to educate the prospects themselves. So confirm the appointment with reminders via Calendly. Okay, so qualification career. Do they have the budget? Can they afford the solution? Do they have the need? Does the prospect even have a clear pain point that needs solving? Position yourself as the authority and make sure that they are decision maker. And find the timeline. Are they looking for an immediate solution? So very important. Just make sure you have this covered in the pre-discovery phase, and then we move on to discovery call. So this is when you book the call with them and you're going to diagnose all the problems they have. So once you're on discovery call, just make sure you structure the call accordingly. So build a report and set the agenda. Ask open-minded questions to uncover pain points. Identify the prospect goals and roadblocks. Align their needs with your solution. So some key questions you could ask. Again, this is not too specific. This is a lot more complex. I just want to show in a high-level overview. So what's your current process like with solving problem? What challenges are you facing with current solutions? What impacts would solving this problem have for your business, right? And then you go into presenting your offer, position yourself as the solution. Effective pitching techniques. So focus on the outcomes instead of the features. Use past client success stories if you have, or just demonstrate the return on investment, or just combine all of them, right? Offer structure, just highlight the core solution, address pricing and payment options, provide a guarantee and a risk reversal. Just combine all of these and you're not going to have any problems. We already talked about your pricing and payment options in the previous section, so make sure you go back if you have skipped through that, as well as the guarantees that you should offer inside the offer section. All right, so once you have that, here comes the handling objections. If you don't have any, you can just obviously go to the next one, which is closing the deal. But generally you're going to get these like, I need to think about it. You can ask something like, what specific concerns do you have? It's too expensive. Okay, John, so if price wasn't a factor, would it be a fit? Right, then they can get into it. We're going to break this down a lot more in just the following section. Just bear with me. I'm going to give you a rebuttal wall that you can use to defeat all these objections. So we're ready working with someone. You can ask, okay, how is that working for you? Or, okay, John, but there's a reason you're on this call, right? So are you 100% satisfied with your current provider? Obviously, nobody is 100% satisfied, right? Next is just close the deal. Goal is to get them to say yes. So here's some closing techniques. You can use assumptive close. Let's get you onboarded. What email should I send you the agreement to? Or you could just ask, hey, where should we take it from here? After you've introduced everything, you've shown them the pricing, and they could naturally just move forward with you. You could do alternative choice close. Would you prefer A or B? So would you start with the full program or 3-month plan? Urgency close. We only have 2 slots left this quarter. Do you want me to secure your spot? They all really like this. You could say something like, okay, you want to start in April. Let's just think of it like this is March at the moment, and they want to start in April, and they want to have a follow-up call, which is nasty. It's a month away. You don't want that because they're going to forget all about you. So you could say, okay, perfect, John. Actually, our system takes 4 weeks to set up. And just stare at them, right? That defeats like the whole, like that's like a time objection, right? We need to think about it. Oh, it's not a need right now. But if they really truly are looking for it, then you can uncover what's behind it. So it's generally not that. It's generally that you're not shown enough value and they don't believe it's the right fit because they want to push it down. There's obviously a reason they're on this call with you today. So you probably just messed up presenting your offer as, the solution that they're looking for, because obviously there's a reason they're on this call. It's most likely you, which is not a problem, but if you avoid it, it's going to become a problem. All right, so finally, just post close and onboarding. So just talk about next steps, send them the contract and invoice immediately, book an onboarding call, provide the onboarding checklist and set expectation. I'm going to show you all of that and how to do that as well. This is just for you to better understand the sales process. So this is really A to Z. So just going from prospecting to closing the deal and onboarding. This is really all you should be focusing on. So this is really nothing complex. I'm going to show you more information on how a structured call goes and what you need to look out for, as well as a rebuttal wall that I'm going to show you after this. All right, so see you there. Okay, so we're going to talk about the one call close, and as promised, I'm going to give you the rebuttal award. So each section, I give you a little bit of a trinket in this section. So for the sales, I'm going to give you this rebuttal board. So most likely you're struggling with objections. So I'm going to show you how you can get around it, how to avoid them in the first place. But if they happen, I'm going to show you how you can just actively address them. Okay, cool. So starting off, I recommend you to do a one call close. Obviously, in the ideal world, it all goes according to plan. Sometimes it does not, but that's fine. And then you need to set up a second call, but make sure you do, and just follow up with them in the meanwhile. And I'm going to show you exactly what to do if that happens. So just to go over this, the ability to close a deal in one call is a powerful skill. It requires precision, confidence, and well, an airtight sales process. So this is what I'm going to show you step by step. So step one is set the agenda, pre-frame the close. So well-structured call ensures the prospect knows what to expect and is primed for a decision by the end. So key talking points. The purpose of this call, John, is to understand where you are now and where you want to be, and to determine if we are the right fit to help you get there. If everything aligns and it makes sense, we'll discuss how to move forward today. Sound fair? This is a little bit pushy. You could use obviously different ones. This is just to give you some idea. So here's an example script, right? Hey John, I appreciate you taking the time today. My goal is to understand your situation, show you how we've helped others in a similar position, and if it makes sense, go over what working together would look like. Does that sound good? If you're not that good at sales yet, I wouldn't imply it, but you could do something like this, right? Obviously you introduce them, you could pull something like this. So just give the intro, set the agenda, just make sure they know what the call is about, and then you can ask them a quick favor, and it goes something like this. So, hey John, can I just ask a quick favor from you? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. What is it? All right, John. So basically, at the end of today's call, there's really only three things you could say to me. You could either say, hell yeah, Sabo, I'm in. You could say, no, this is not the right fit. Or you could say, oh, maybe we'll come back. Maybe in 2 weeks, we'll be in touch, right? So, John, I think generally when people say, maybe, I'll think about it, it's more of a polite way of saying no, right? So can we just agree, John, that at the end of today's call, just either say something like, hell yeah, Sabo, I'm in. Or hell no, Sabo, this is not the right thing for me. Because, when I think most people say maybe, it's just more of a polite way of saying no. So if you can just avoid having that, that would be absolutely amazing, John. So with that in mind, would you say this is a reasonable request? Obviously you could use something like this. It's a little bit more advanced, so make sure you have just set the agenda, pre-frame the close, and you can employ something like this to, set the mood right. So you could always say, at any point, if it feels like, this doesn't feel like the right solution for you, you can say no to me. There's no pressure. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Just let me know. You don't want to come off as desperate. You need to show that you have options and you're not going to starve tomorrow if they don't sign with you, right? So you really are just genuinely looking to help them, and it needs to come off. But generally, if you set these, that's a good start, and you can use this like advanced tip that I've just shown you. All right, step 2, uncover pain and emotional buy-in. So to close in one call, you need to tap into both logic as well as emotion. So questions you need to be asking: what's been the biggest challenge in achieving desired outcome? How is this affecting your business revenue time? What happens if this problem isn't solved in the next 6 to 12 months? Use silence. Effectively let them process their pain before moving to the next step. All right, this is really, really, really important, because if you don't do this, it's not going to work, right? Because you need to build pain and you need to build emotion. You cannot just go through your script and just go to the pitch, because they might have the problem, but they might not understand like the logical and emotional baggages that come with it. If you can just spark that pain and that just curiosity, you're gonna have a much easier time just helping them. All right, so for example, like what we're doing inside Scaling Room is we're prying people and obviously helping them book more appointments and closing them more deals. That's why you're watching this video. So the questions we generally ask, most people just struggle with appointment booking, and it's quite simple to fix. We generally just ask again, what happens if you don't hit, that 20K revenue goal that you set for 2025? What happens in 6 months if nothing changes, right? Will you be in the same place? You gotta ask like questions that get prospect to emotionally open up to you and just taps into the logical side of their brain as well. All right, step 3. So once you have that, present yourself as the solution in a compelling way. Okay, so your prospect needs to see your offer as the clear bridge between their current struggle and the desired outcome. How to structure your pitch. So restate their problem. All right, John, so you mentioned you're struggling with appointment booking, right? Introduce their solution. So what we do is you go into, right? So explain your unique approach. We could say we help gyms with appointment booking. Obviously, it's a little bit surface level, go into more detail. Highlight key benefits. Our clients typically see X results within Y time frame. Clients see 20 appointments within 30 days. Social proof. So, for example, John went from 10 appointments to 35 appointments per month in just 40 days, right? So something like this. All right, once you have that, move on to step 4. So handling objections real time. One call close requires tackling objections immediately with confidence, so even before they occur. So we're gonna get into more on that, just a little bit more detail, but here are some, common objections, like I need to think about it, it's too expensive, I need to check with my team. Totally understand. What specifics do you want to think about? It's too expensive. Compared to cost of your current problem, this is a long-term investment. You could say something like this, or, compared to being stuck in the current position, say 6 months from now, is it still too expensive, right? Or compared to what exactly? Or compared to, not making 20K a month, right? Or potentially whatever that goal is. I needed to check with my team. Who else needs to be involved? Let's get them on the call as well. Or John, you think Sean will have some questions? What do you think his concern will be? Maybe I can answer that for you on this call, and you could just let him know. And they could be like, oh, okay, I don't know. And they're gonna reveal their real pain points, which is most likely not checking with the team, but something else, right? Step 5, create urgency and close the deal. Guide them to confidently taking a decision without being pushy. So you can create urgency, limited spots available. Obviously, if you're selling a program or some kind of course, don't do it, because obviously it's not true. It's not going to run out of ebooks or something. Special pricing. All right, John, fine. So if you go and purchase today, or if you sign up today, I'm going to give you 20% off. Okay. This rate is locked in for you today only. Results timeline. So sooner we start, the sooner you can see results. You mentioned you want to get to 20K. You want to book 20 appointments a month, John. Our system is going to take 2 weeks to set up. So you want to get there as soon as possible, right? Yeah, of course. So, it takes 2 weeks for us to set up. So if you want to get there as soon as possible, it's best to start as soon as possible, right? So our team can get into it. So something like this, just make sure to create urgency. Here are some example closing questions. Are you ready to get started? If we could remove objection, would you be comfortable moving forward today? What would need to happen to make you 100% confident in starting? All right, finally, step 6, lock in the next steps and take payment. So once the prospect agrees, finalize the deal immediately. So send them the payment link, confirm the receipt on the call, schedule the onboarding kickoff call, send them a welcome email with the next steps. Example of closing scripts. Awesome. I'll send over the agreement and the payment link now. Once that's done, we'll book you an onboarding session. Sounds good. Okay, so this is pretty much it about the one call close. I'm going to show you some rebuttal words. I'm going to show you how to handle all the objections you might be facing. So let's get into it. So here are the most common objections and rebuttals. I'm showing you 2 examples for each. So let's get into it. So I need to talk with my partner, my business partner, my spouse, my fiance, my husband, whatever, right? Prevention. Always confirm all decision makers are present up front. So I'm going to show you again a way to prevent it, and I'm going to show you a way to rebut it. So if it's just a smoke screen, you could just say, okay, I totally understand. Just so I know, is this simply a case of needing to get their approval, or do you have some doubts yourself? If no doubts, just continue to the next step, right? So this is just if it's a smoke screen. If it's not, just move on. Rebuttal. If it's a genuine concern. All right, that makes sense. Just so we lock in the special pricing, would you be open to placing a fully refundable deposit today? And then we can schedule a follow-up with your partner to finalize everything. Right, so if they're committed, they're going to place the deposit. If they're not going to place it. Second, can I speak with some of your clients? A lot of people ask for testimonials, referrals, stuff like this. Prevention, just send them those in the first place before the call. This can really turn off a lot of people, could turn off a lot of deals if not handled well. There's 2 rebuttals I'm showing you on how you can do it. So that's a great question, John. I completely understand where you're asking. So however, due to the competitive nature of our industry, we keep our clients' information private, but to ensure you feel comfortable, we have a dedicated testimonial page with results from hundreds of clients. Obviously, if you don't have hundreds of clients, don't do that. I can send it over right now. Want me to take a look while I grab a coffee? Rebuttal 2. We've actually get this request a lot, which is why we built an entire page with results, testimonials, case studies. I want you to feel as comfortable as possible moving forward. How about I walk you through a few of them right now? All right. So to prevent this, you really need testimonials in the first place. All right. There's really no way you can get around this. What's your guarantee? Prevention, position yourself and your guarantee as an additional layer of security, not the primary reason to buy. Great question. The first guarantee is that if you don't make a change, you'll stay exactly in the same situation 6 months from now. That's a guarantee. However, we also have a formal guarantee, and just insert it here. This means that as long as you implement what we teach you, you will see results. I don't make decisions on the spot. So to prevent this, set the expectation like I've shown you. That's just the advanced tip, like no maybes, yes or no. Just frame the call and just set the agenda right. You could say, I totally understand that and respect it, but after 45 minutes of diving deep into your business, uncovering challenges, finding the exact solutions, do you feel like this is the right step to take for you? If yes, then, the real question is about making the decisions on the spot. It's about committing to solving the problem today. Okay, next, can I have time to think about it? Ensure there is time-sensitive reason to take action now. So rebuttal for that, absolutely. Let me go grab a coffee and I'll give you a few minutes right now to think. Once you're ready, let's go over any concerns you might have. So this is like something, very pushy. If you're very confident, very charismatic, this could work. Otherwise, you could have it where you just leave for a coffee, come back, and the guy is not even there, and you're just like sitting there with a coffee like, okay, this didn't work, let's use something else. So don't do this if you're not charismatic, if you're not fully sure what you're doing. This is like something super advanced. What you could say, just, I completely understand. What specifics is holding you back from making a decision today? Just use this instead, okay? Just a little bit more safe. I cannot afford it. Anchor your price against the cost of inaction. So I hear you, I totally get it, but let me ask you, if the investment help you to generate, say what they want is 20k a month, would it be worth it? Right now, the real cost isn't the investment, it's staying stuck where you are. And generally, what you're charging, most people can buy it. So it's not like they cannot afford $1,500, $2,000 or whatever you're charging. Like, could be 5k, they can still afford it. So let me think, let me build up some cash and come back. So rebuttal for this, I hear you, but let me ask, if you continue doing what you're doing right now, will you realistically have more cash in the future, or will you just stay in the same position? Instead of waiting, let's figure out a way how to make this work right now and start seeing results and generating revenue sooner, right? So this just reframes the whole thing by positioning yourself as the only way to actually solve that problem. They're going to continue and dabble on and not really change anything, right? So that's most people, right? Okay, now is not the right time. I understand timing is everything, but let me ask you this. When will it be the right time to finally solve this problem? If this solution gets you the results you want, would you rather start sooner, later? I've tried this before and it didn't work. Rebuttal. Okay, I totally get it. And I feel the same way in your position, but what if the real issue wasn't the strategy didn't work, but it wasn't executed properly? Tell me more about what happened so I can see where things went wrong. Okay, finally, I have other calls lined up. You might get this if the prospect is just a plain douchebag. So I get it. Exploring options is smart, but let me ask you this. If this is the right fit, why delay taking action? Waiting won't get you closer to your goal. Again, you just want to make sure you position yourself as the authority, but most likely you can just say to them, piss off, I'm not going to work with you, because clients like this are not good to have anyway. So finally, dream question for overcoming hesitation. So John, here's the real decision. Are you ready to finally take control and achieve desired outcome? Or do you want to stay exactly where you are, facing the same challenges? The choice isn't about working with us, man. It's about committing to your own success. So again, just reframe the whole decision making as a commitment to their own growth rather than a choice between vendors. So this is pretty much what you could use. All right, and very finally, how to handle doubt. This is generic doubt. So I understand, and if you didn't have any doubts, I'd be surprised. You wouldn't be human. Let me ask you, do you feel like this could work for you? If the answer is yes, then let's find a way to move forward today. All right, so this is basically all the objections that you might be facing. Again, if you want access to this document, you can just click copy, make a copy. I'm going to share this with you as well, so you don't need to worry about this. It's going to be in the link in the description. So with that in mind, we have covered the sales process, and we're going to move on to the outbound and how to get started with outreach. So let's go. All right, so welcome. You made it inside Outbound Foundations. We're going to pick off where we left off exactly just right after the sales. So what this section really covers is just understanding outbound as a client acquisition strategy, the importance of outbound. We briefly talked about this, but I'm going to dive super deep. So you're going to know exactly all 4 client acquisition channels as well. We covered that briefly, but I'll break them down again so you have a clear understanding before we dive deeper into outbound. We're going to talk about the mastery framework, the science behind effective outbound prospecting, essential mindset shifts that you need to take for outbound to be successful, common pitfalls and how to avoid them, some advanced strategies and actionable steps. All will be covered right now. So what is outbound? Outbound is a proactive approach to client acquisition. So instead of waiting for leads to come to you, you go to them. So outbound enables you to go directly to your ideal prospects, right? So it's just sort of like paid ads, except more cumbersome on the setup side, but overall much more better in terms of ROI. It involves reaching out via email, calling, social media, messaging. We're going to cover all of that in the upcoming section, so don't worry. To initiate the conversation and generate sales opportunities is a critical skill set for any business looking to scale predictably and systematically. So how outbound differs from any other client acquisition method. So we already talked about this briefly, but there's really only 4 client acquisition strategies that you can do and employ to get you new clients. So number 1, there's inbound. So that's content driven strategies that attract leads through SEO, blogs, or organic social media posts, or sort of like this YouTube video right here, right? So think about that. So you post the content, let's just say inbound. You post the content and people come to you. All right, pretty similar, right? We have referral marketing, leveraging existing clients and networks to gain new business. This is mainly done through word of mouth or just incentives like an affiliate program. So you can have a big ball here with, let's just say clients, and they have, you know, prospects or people who they refer to, and this guy was very happy and he referred this prospect to you, who turned eventually into a client and just moved into your client pool. There could have been like an affiliate incentive, right? For example, if they signed with you, this guy was paid 30% or something like that from what this person paid. So it could be an incentive like that, but you already need to have an existing client pool for this to work. Then we have paid ads. Paid ads is just very simple. You pay money and get eyeballs, right? So basically it's just turning on the tap, turning on the faucet. It's just you pay, you get leads, and that's pretty much it. Running digital ads to just generate direct responses. I don't recommend you to do it unless you can burn $200 per day and be okay with it. I recommend you to start off with outbound. If you have a proven offer, proven method, proven sales system, then you can do paid ads. But first prove it with outbound, right? So direct, proactive approach to potential clients through cold email, cold call, social media, SMS. So let's just say this is outbound, and what it does is you have your clients or your prospects and you go to them as opposed to them coming to you. So it's similar to paid ads, right? One of effective and cost-efficient way for acquiring new clients. Unlike inbound marketing, which can take months to generate consistent leads, outbound enables you to control your pipeline by directly engaging potential customers. This means you don't have to wait for leads to come to you. You go directly to them. Okay, so really that's the key differentiator. Let's just break down the science behind it. So it's not about spamming. Again, you're not spamming random prospects. It's highly targeted and should be a calculated process that follows a repeatable system, which I'm about to show you. These key principles you should always keep in mind. So make sure it's relevant, to the people that you're reaching out to. Make sure there's personalization going on, so make sure the message feels tailored to them, and be consistent. So follow up, be persistent, because ultimately what you're offering, your service, your product, is something that perhaps could change somebody's life. So be consistent, right? Think of it like this, like you want to feel like you're offering them a winning lottery ticket, and you need to be that consistent, right? If they say no, it's their fault, they lost out on the money, right? But you wanted to help them. So think of it like this: make sure it's relevant, make sure it's personal, make sure you stay consistent. Okay, the framework you should keep in mind. So this is really just how outbound looks from a high level overview. So again, it's just not random. It is a structured, repeatable process, and each outbound system like calling, messaging, social media, emailing, they have this very same framework, although slightly different, but the gist of it is like this. So you identify your ICP, you build a high quality lead list, you craft a personalized outreach message, you execute that multi-channel outreach, and then finally you optimize for response rate. The essential mindset shifts you need to have to succeed with outbound. I'm not gonna go too in depth into mindset. This is literally it. I want you to get these points across because this is just going to help you in the long run. So this is all the mindset in this whole video. I think it's probably going to be like a couple hours long. Should be at an hour long by now. So if you made it this far, congrats. Again, there's going to be some trinket after this section, so just make sure you stay tuned. So outbound is about quantity. That means the more qualified outreach you do, the better the results. You want to focus not just on quantity, but quality as well. So we call this quantity approach. So you combine best of both worlds. Rejection is data, not failure. So each no helps you refine your outreach. Speed and adaptability matters. The faster you iterate, the faster you can scale. Also, speed to lead is very important. The faster you can reply to prospect, generally more likely you're going to do better. Personalization wins. A tailored message beats a generic automated one every single time, right? And follow-ups are just key. Most people just give up after the first couple touch points. Again, you want to think like you have a winning lottery ticket you want to give to them. And if they say no, okay, that's their problem. We're going to talk about follow-up frameworks as well. All right, so common pitfalls, how you need to avoid them. Targeting the wrong audience. So ensure your lead list aligns with your ICP. You don't want to be too generic, inconsistent again as well. Like follow-ups, as you can see, I mentioned it quite a few times already. Follow-ups are key. Like it's true. Money is in the follow-ups and people are too lazy to do them. But I'm going to show you ways you can automate it. All right, so lack of performance tracking. Again, very data oriented myself. Always say you can avoid the data, but you cannot really avoid the problems, right? So if you avoid the data, if the data is bad, it sucks, but at least you know that you can change it, right? Shouldn't be ignoring the fact that the data is bad. The problem's not going to go away just by ignoring. All right, and finally, just don't give up. So if you give up outbound, you're obviously not going to see any results. So don't give up too soon. Advanced strategies. All right, so automating, segmenting your list, using AI, leveraging video outreach, outsourcing appointment setters. We're going to cover all of this. Just want to give you like the high level overview of it. All right, so how to get the most out of this? Just follow all the steps in order that I'm about to show you after this segment. So make sure you don't skip around, make sure you follow it in order, because otherwise it's not going to make sense. And you know, by the time you're watching this, start today. Start after you watch this video, or you can start as I go along. Maybe you can put my video in the background and you can start implementing as we go along. All right, so with that in mind, let's see you inside the conversion system. So I'm going to explain everything that you need to do. So this was just a high level overview. I'm going to show you exact strategies that you need to take with outbound in order to succeed. So I'll see you there. Welcome. So we have transitioned from the foundations to conversion system. So you might be asking, what the hell is this? I'm going to explain. It's going to make sense to you. Make sure you just go through this module, because otherwise what I'm about to show you after this is not going to make sense. If you can just understand what I show you in this quick segment, everything is going to fall into place. And ultimately, you're going to see very, very good success with outbound. So let's just go. Okay, so welcome to Outbound Conversion System. This section explains our outbound conversion process at a high level. Again, outbound is a system, not a random process. So the key to success is structure, tracking, iteration. I've been very clear about this. So without a clear system in place, conversion rates drop and outbound efforts become inefficient. So outbound as a system, outbound conversion works as a structured system, ensuring efficiency, predictability, and scalability. So here is how everything breaks down. Here is the chart to simplify everything for you. There is an input, which is the outbound process. As you can see, there is this orange rectangle here. So this symbolizes outbound prospecting. This is the input that we put in, right? So the messages we send out, the cold calls we do, the process, right? So outbound stages. So it's going to be 4 stages. I'm going to make sure you understand each specific one, but just for now, understand their stages, right? So this is like when you send out the message, there's different stages between engaging with the prospect and booking them. And there's 4 stages. We're going to cover that. Just understand their stages to this. Okay. Then we have output. So output is the appointment. So as you can see, this rectangle here is appointment. So that's what you want out of outbound systems. Now we have the feedback loop. So this is just basically tracking and optimizing. And finally, we have the market environment, right? So this hexagon right here, we have placed everything in. So this is the market environment. So this could be the external factors that affect your outbound performance. So if you're doing cold email, it could be the new deliverability changes that Google has made. If you're doing emails through G Suite, right? Very simple. Okay, so a little bit more in depth, and I've also broken it down. The input, again, is just outbound processing. So cold emails, calls, LinkedIn, everything like that. The process, so structured sequence of steps that transition prospects through outbound pipeline. So here are the 4 stages, okay? So contacted, this is when initiating contact with the prospect. There is the B stage, that's when they're interested, when you receive a positive reply. Booking link send, so that's the scheduling step. We have D. Finally, that's the booked, and then they turn on to the appointment. So that's really the output we want, is the amount of book calls that we get. So that's the successful scheduled meetings to create tangible sales opportunities. Finally, we have the feedback loop. So that's the optimization tracking, like positive reply rate, Calendly send rate, and appointment booking rate, right? And you can also track, well, the market environment, like the external factors, like the competition, industry trends, seasonality, or like whatever I mentioned, like previously, like if you're doing cold email, if you're sending through Outlook, maybe Outlook ruled out a new change that could be affecting your emails, right? So that's the market environment. So this is how it looks. Again, outbound prospecting, contacted, interested, booking link sent, book, and finally the appointment. And then we have the feedback, which is all inside, you know, the external environment. Okay, so here we go. Here's the golden flow, the 4-stage flow. Every outbound lead moves through these 4 key stages, right? So each stage represents a level of progress and comparison between stages and key metrics to optimize. So let's break down each step. All right, so first one is contacted, then we have interested, then we have booking link and booked. And there's a common theme you see among them is we do a lot of follow-ups. So follow-ups are quite key. It might seem crazy, but the thing is, it gets you crazy good results. So if you're not utilizing something like this, at least 2 to 3 follow-ups, I recommend you to do up to 7. Don't do anything more. This is sort of the sweet spot. We tried more, we tried 10, a little too much. So I generally recommend contacted 1 or 2 follow-ups at max. So once you contact them, that's when you do the pre-pitch. Hey, can I pitch you something like this? You follow up once. If they don't agree, then lead's gone. If they agree, then you do them a follow if this is for Instagram, and then you send them the Loom link or embed natively, better yet, the VSL. And that's when you ask for permission to send them the Calendly, the booking link, right? And then you follow up with them 7 times. And if they agree, you send them the booking link. And then the goal is obviously to get them scheduled in. And if they book, cool. If they drop off, they drop off. That's okay. You move on to the next one. All right, so this is really it. I know it seems a little bit complex. Hopefully I've broken it down for you so you understand. If you need to rewatch this segment or this segment, just go through it because everything's going to build up on these sections. Now we're going to go a little bit more in depth into each specific one. So contacted is just, again, initiating the contact. Think of this drawing again. So we're in contacted, we're going to move to interested, booking link and booked. So these are based on color tiering. So first contacted. Before engaging in a full pitch, the first step is to reach out to prospect and just start the conversation. Methods, again, can be cold email, LinkedIn, SMS, or whatever in terms of outbound. We're going to cover that all very shortly. Get response, indicating openness, a conversation. That's the ultimate goal. And metrics track the response rate. So what you can improve if you don't see good rates between these 2 sections, what you can do is just keep your initial message short and curiosity driven. Frame your pitch as a value first conversation rather than a sales attempt. Adapt message based on the persona of the prospect and the industry, right? So once you have that going, you need to receive a interested reply, which is again just receiving a positive reply. Once the prospect gives you permission, this means that they're showing you interest and open to the next steps. Indicators are they ask for follow-up questions, express curiosity, or indicate the problem needs solving, right? Goal is to position your offer in a way that encourages further engagement, ultimately book a call. And the metrics are, that's positive reply rate. right? So how many percentage of people respond positively? So out of 100 cold emails, you get 2 positive responses. That's a 2% positive response rate. So key improvements: ensure messaging focuses on their pain points, personalize follow-up messages to build trust, use case studies and relevant social proof. And that's pretty much it, right? Moving on. So we have booking link. So that's, getting commitment to schedule. At this stage, you present your prospect with the opportunity to take action by sending them a booking link. All right. So methods are, again, direct message, email follow-up, SMS conversations, same methods you used previously. The goal is to get them to book a call. Metrics are booking link sent. We use Calendly. Improvements: reduce friction by keeping scheduling quick and effortless, provide multiple time options to accommodate, and use urgency. Finally, the goal is to have a successful meeting, a booked call. This is the final step. Goal is obviously to make sure that they book and show up during the call. Methods are reminder emails, SMS confirmation, pre-call materials. We briefly touched on this and we'll do a little bit more as well. So metrics, ABR, so that's the appointment booking rate. So you can improve the show up rates by sending them 24-hour, 1-hour reminders. We talked about this. Provide a clear agenda so they know what to expect. Reduce no-shows by reinforcing the value of the conversation. You're going to get access to this as well, absolutely for free. It's going to be linked inside the description. So if you want more information, like the exact follow-up frameworks that we use, like the reply frameworks, like if somebody no-shows, we have frameworks for that as well. Like if they ghost you for some reason, we also have post-call follow-up frameworks as well. Everything's pretty cool, pretty much automated. So if you need those, it's going to be inside the Citadel. Perhaps if you think you're a fit for that, and we can definitely talk about it. If you want to join the Citadel, there's going to be the second link in the description. We can talk about it. You can talk to me or my team, and we could help you set all these systems up as well. And we're going to have a bunch more information, just like the reply frameworks, the follow-up frameworks, and all of that good stuff. All right, so once we have covered this, we're going to move on to lead magnets, what they are, how we should use them, and all the 3 types of lead magnets that there are. And once we have that, we're going to move on to email. So this has really been the foundation that we're going to build everything on top of. So congrats, you made it this far. We're going to get into the scripts, the emails, the messaging, pretty much what you've been waiting for. So I'm going to see you there. All right, welcome to Lead Magnet. So a lead magnet is a valuable resource offered to a potential customer in exchange for their contact information. So the effectiveness of lead magnets depends entirely upon the relevance, perceived value, as well as the ability to adjust an immediate need. So there are 3 types of lead magnets. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm just going to get straight into this. So there's the low value lead magnets. These are the least effective. These are the easiest to create, but often provide the least engagement because they're widely available and their perceived value is quite low. So these are anywhere from templates to white papers to case studies, books, ebooks, PDFs, and AI generated videos. Why these are less effective? Well, many businesses use these lead magnets, making them less compelling. And since AI can pretty much generate them at scale, they no longer stand out in the market. So use them wisely. All right, so tier 2, that's the medium value lead magnet. These are highly effective for most businesses. So these are the magnets that require a lot more effort, but deliver significantly better results in return. So these can be mini courses, free trials, usable data, checklists, workbooks. So why these are effective? Well, these structured resources provide actionable value that prospects can immediately use. Like simple PDFs, mini courses, and trials engage users to demonstrate expertise. All right, so tier 3, tier 2, as well as final tier 1, that's the high value, so that's most effective. These are really require you to put a lot of effort, a lot of engagement into each lead to convert them. So for example, you could offer them a full course, a personalized mini service, software tool, calculators, right? Like private membership as well into communities. So most people are willing to pay for these resources, and you sharing them for free, making them highly attractive. So offering something like this can really boost the sign-up rates for your lead magnet. So this is pretty much it. There's really only these 3 tiers. I'll show you my recommendations on how you should be using it. So basically what we're doing inside Scaling Room at the moment, we're offering 50 million leads for free. We're offering, well, you're watching this right now, so we're offering the crash course as well for free, which is like 4 to 5 hours. So we have this, so it's a mini course. Okay, and we have private community. So we have 50 million leads for free, 45-hour course, private community. So that's a pretty much you can consider it a full course at this point. So this is tier 1. We offer a tier 2 as well, which is the usable data, as well as, well, community, right? It's tier 1 or tier 2, however you want to frame it. So we also offer like templates as well as just some software discounts, software recommendations, so just a whole bunch of things. So we combine it with not just one, not just two, but like multiple tier magnets at once. So that's the best practice. I recommend you to combine them. That is basically called lead magnet stacking. All right, so make sure you combine them for the optimal effort. Don't just use one, don't just rely on one. So really this is all about lead magnets. Congratulations on making this far. We're going to go into the actual systems now. So we're going to talk about email, we're going to talk about cold calling, we're going to talk about messaging, and finally the social systems and how you can hire appointment setters that pretty much automate the whole process next to the automation tools. So let's just get into that, and I'll see you in there. Welcome back. We're going to talk about email, probably the most important outreach system out there. So let's just get into it. Is cold email dead? Well, I'm going to answer that question very shortly for you. Introduction to cold email in 2025. So cold email has been declared dead throughout the years, especially recently. Yet agencies, consultants, and business owners continue to book thousands of meetings and close six-figure deals using this well-optimized and predictable outreach system. So the truth, cold email isn't dead, but bad cold email is. As platforms like Google, Microsoft introduce more sophisticated spam filters, AI-driven inbox protections, generic mass email is no longer gonna work. But as delivery changes, personalization demands, and increased competition mean that those who stick outdated tactics will see diminishing returns. However, those who adapt, leveraging AI automations, multi-touchpoint sequences, and hyper-personalized campaigns are achieving record-breaking results. So what this module covers, this module dives deep into the modern cold email strategies, from mailbox warm-up to domain infrastructure to AI-driven video outreach and scalable automations. So you'll discover how to bypass the spam filters, the difference between mass and hyper-targeted outreach, how AI tools like BeHuman, HeyGen, and Hippo automate video outreach, frameworks for cold email sequences that actually get you responses, follow-up systems that turn not now into book calls, the email strategic advantage. So cold email isn't just a numbers game anymore, it's driven via data. Companies winning with cold email today treat it like a high converting sales funnel, ensuring that every stage from list cleaning to follow-ups are optimized for engagement. By the end of this module, you'll have a proven roadmap to launch, scale, and optimize high-performing cold email campaigns that stand out in those crowded inboxes. The old spray and pray approach that you used to do, or, well, if you knew that that was a strategy that people used to do and still do, is not going to work. But those who evolve, cold email is going to be more powerful than ever because everyone is going to be dropped out. And if you can just do these things right, you're going to see ultimately all the results for the people that have quit, and you're going to eat up their plates. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to see you inside. Okay, welcome back. We have made it inside the email section. So we're going to talk about all the email sections. I'm going to give you the recommended tools. The view is going to give you some mailbox hacks as well as frameworks that you can just steal and implement on your own. Make sure you refill your coffee and let's get into it. First of all, the tools you need. We're going to talk about every single tool that you need to set up your email system. For email automation and sequencing, I recommend you to use SmartLead or Instantly. Really, it's a coin toss at this point. They're pretty much carbon copies of each other. They have the same features. I recommend SmartLead at the moment. We have discount codes for both. So if you want those, just go and click the first link in the description. We don't take any affiliate cuts. So it's either like a percentage discount, like 10 to 30%, or like good extended free trial for these softwares that I'm mentioning here. Okay, so just pick one. Recommend SmartLead. Then next, you can use for AI personalization. I recommend you to use custom AI API personalization scripts. If you don't know what this is, if you need more help implementing something like this, you can click the second link in the description. You can talk with me or my team and we can help you set all this up. But basically the gist of it is AI really relies on personalization. So if you're missing this, you're going to have some problems, right? So you want to include some sort of personalization. And what these scripts do, we have scripts that you can just copy copy and paste and implement into your own systems. And all it does is you have a lead list, right? So you have first names and all this data like SEO description, and the AI script just takes this data and creates some personalized first lines. It creates some personalized introduction or whatever. We have a whole bunch of these scripts, and this is really all about personalization. And by the way, if you join our program, you get $2,500 worth of credits on OpenAI. That's what we recommend to do. Just use OpenAI for the credits. And yeah, if you join our program, you get 2,500 worth of credits. Okay, on to the next one. So email deliverability and monitoring. I recommend you to use DMARC report or email guard. We at the moment are using DMARC report. So this just helps you track the health and prevents blacklists. And finally, for lead sourcing and verification, use leaddeck.co or any other database that you like. I'm going to quickly show you each of them. Okay, so Smart Lead basically looks like this. As you can see, this program has a master unibox, so sort of like with your emails. And what you have here is just the email chain. Basically, you can see the replies people are showing. It shows the interested, not interested, do not contact, and all of that, right? You can see the unread and you can see the read replies very easily. You can click email accounts. You can see all your email accounts. You can filter for deliverability as well, or if you want to look for, we have a couple Gmail accounts that we added. You can see the deliverability for these. We're actively testing like all Gmail accounts at the moment, so that's why you're seeing this here. I recommend you to just get Google or Microsoft inboxes, so Outlook or G Suite. And as you can see, here are some of the performance. You can click here. I'm not going to go too in depth into this, but what this software does, so as you can see, it warms up your email inboxes. You can see how many went into spam. So this one is warming up quite nicely. It's just halfway through the period. You can click general. You can change the name. You can change the signature as well. You can add a custom tracking domain, which I do not recommend at the moment. We'll talk about that in the deliverability section. You can change the warm up or how many emails should it send. You can add tags. You can add campaigns. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can check all the leads here as well that you have uploaded. You can upload them based on the campaigns. You can create like a whole bunch of automations, which is really cool. If you want to, you can also share client access to this. So if you have a client and you want to share Smart Leads so they have access, you can click add a client. I think it's $30 per month, and you can see your global analytics. You can see Smart Lead has a deliverability tester as well. We're going to check that briefly as well. So what you can do is you can test your campaigns before they go out. Let's just click on manual test. I've already run a few tests, so just to show you exactly what it looks like. Okay, perfect. So here is a deliverability test we did. As you can see, this one's quite decent. This is really good. This one's okay. This was for crop reach. This was for scaling room. And this was just for some ghost inboxes like Gmail. At the moment, Google, so G Suite is doing a lot better. So by the time you're watching this video, probably that has changed. But you can also do test yourself inside Smart Lead. I think you get 5 tests for free when you sign up. Yeah, but also there's a new feature where you can enhance deliverability with Smart Lead, Smart servers. So you can go through the wizard here. It will explain everything. And you can come into campaigns as well, and you can see exactly what went on with this campaign. As you can see, we haven't run this week, so I think this campaign finished last week. You can see the amount of leads that bounced, the amount of leads we reached, the amount of people that were interested, as well as the amount of people that replied, not interested, you know, stuff like that. And you can see the positive reply ratio, the reply ratio across like the test. Like there was a 3 email sequence and 3 variation of each. You can click the inbox, the sequence, you can track all of it. So this is really Smart Lead, pretty much the best tool out there. Let's go on to the next one. So for custom scripts, these are some of the scripts we give out inside our program. I'm just going to show you one. So let's just click here. This one is just for personalized first line. So, well, if you want, you can just copy the script here. We have some more advanced scripts that we share inside the program, but essentially the gist of it is this, right? So it uses a prompt on a select column, which is the SEO description. You need an SEO description inside the leads list. If you don't have it, it's not going to work. It could be a LinkedIn description or something like this, but it needs data to use this prompt on, right? So basically what it does is just creates a personalized first line. All you need to do is just sign the API key, select the file path, and it will do the personalization for you. So very simple. There's a whole bunch of AI tools you can use like this. Again, I recommend you to just run it through VS Code or any code editor of your preference. You can also run it on the web. Doesn't have to be complicated. Yeah, so this was email personalization. Let's now get into DMARC report. So this is a domain reporting service. If you click on, let's say, crop reach, this is one of the domains we use. You can see how many were compliant, how many emails that we sent out, so reported, and you can click here for more detail. You can also check a last 60 days, and as you can see, we sent out with this domain the last 60 days 4,000 emails. Well, 12 of them were non-compliant, and you can check what the problems were, right, in detail. But mostly it's okay. So it should look something like that, right? Okay, you can see the DMARC reports as well. You can see a whole bunch of tools. You can do email test as well. You can do DMARC, DKIM, SPIF, BIMI record. So really all you need to worry about is the DMARC, DKIM, SPIF. I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, this tool is just there to check whether or not everything's set up correctly. So for example, right, as you can see, DMARC record is missing on this domain, so it's not reporting correctly. So really, as you can see, the green ones are good. The other ones have some sort of issue with them. Okay, so this is about DMARC. Let's go into finally lead deck. So this is the solution we recommend you to get your leads from. All you do is just click here, get started. And if you're inside the program, you get 75% off. Generally cost $4 per 1,000 leads. If you're inside the program, you can get them as cheap as $1 per 1,000 lead. All you need to do is just put some email that you want to receive the Apollo scrape to, and you just put the Apollo link, you put the file name, put the link, and it's just going to send you an invoice. You clear it and you're going to receive the leads in a couple of minutes. So at the moment they have Apollo, they're going to have Crunchbase, LinkedIn. So a lot of databases are soon to coming. At the moment it is just perfect for Apollo, so you can get Apollo leads for 1/10 the price. All right, so these were the softwares I recommend you to start off with. Now let's just get into some mailbox hacks that you can implement today. And I'm going to give you the exact frameworks and scripts that you can just steal and implement into your own system. All right, so mailbox hacks. So your cold email success is only as good as your deliverability. So what that means is if your emails aren't reaching the inbox, they aren't getting opened, read, or replied to. So this section focuses on the essential strategies you need to employ to bypass the spam filters and land where they should. Okay, so your prospect's primary inbox is ideally what you should be aiming for, not the promo tab, not the spam. So here's what I recommend. So for mailbox setup, for maximum deliverability, number one, use multiple domains and email accounts. So avoid using your primary domain for cold outreach. That is very simple, because if you get any sort of issue with running outreach, your primary domain is going to be banned, it's going to be affected. You don't want to deal with that. So in order to get around it, what I recommend you to do is, so for example, we have a lot of domains, as you can see, I've just shown you on DMARC report, that are similar, but not quite the same, like corpreach.com, right? It's almost corpreach, but you know, with a P instead of a R at the reach part, right? So think of like this, which looks similar, and then you can just send through these emails. So what I recommend is buy similar domains. Ideally, you should get 3 inboxes per domain. Don't do anything higher, you could do lower. That means if, let's say, if you want to have 300 inboxes, you're gonna need 100 domains, right? Very simple. Okay, so back to the hack. Set up multiple, again, aged domains. Make sure you wait at least 30 days so the domains become aged. Diversify across platforms. So use 40% split among Google and Outlook, and use a 20% private SMTP. Use something like Mailreef, Scaled Mail, or Hypertribe. For Google and Outlook, I recommend you to use our Mailbox setup service. We originally created this for corporate AgTech clients, but we have rolled it out to Scaling Room as well, and you do get a 30% discount on all orders, so you can get inboxes for as cheap as $2 per month if you're, again, inside the community. All you need to do is just join and you get access to it. You can order, you can select whatever you want. So at the moment you can order aged Gmail accounts and Outlook accounts, so it's all fully done for you. We set up all the inboxes, so if you need that help, that's fine. You can just join the Discord and you can ask questions about it, or just order through the site as well. Other than that, I recommend private SMTP server like Mailreef, Scaled Mail, Hypertribe, something like this, just to diversify. Or you can just always use like Google and Outlook. We're officially partners with them, so that's why we're able to get a better deal. We're selling the exact same US, Europe IPs, so it is exactly the same. We set up all the inboxes for you, so really don't need to worry about anything else. Usually I think it costs $7.50. We can get it as low as $2 out to you. We don't really take any profits on this. This is sort of just to give back to the community. All right, with that, warming up your inboxes. So the thing is, with Google, you need to warm up at least minimum of 2 weeks. With Outlook, it's either good right off the bat or it's bad from day one. So it is really based on the IP reputation pool you get. So you can just either start sending today, or I mean 2 weeks later it's going to be still terrible. If you get this issue, you can ask them to re-roll your IP and they will just basically re-roll it for you. You get a fresh IP and hopefully that's good. With Google, if you warm it up, you should be good. I recommend to, again, just gradually warm up 1 to 2 emails a day and increase 10-15% every few days and avoid sudden spikes. All right, authentication. So must have records for your domains, must have have SPF, DKIM, DMARC record must be properly configured. Also, if you want a Be My record, just boost trust and helps with your branding. It's basically like that verification mark on Twitter for your domain. So if you want to get that for your primary domain, like what we have for Corp Reach, I think it's like $2,000 per year. If you need it, it's just good for, you know, when you're messaging your prospects, your emails are basically guaranteed to go through, but you don't want to do cold emailing with your main domain. All right, you can do custom domain tracking links. You can include these as well in your email campaign if you want to track open rate. Well, it is up to you to do this. At the moment, I don't recommend to do it unless you're just starting a new campaign in which you can do this, which is fine, because you want to know if your emails are being delivered and opened or not. And you know, you're obviously going to get a lower response rate, but that's fine. The goal is to just gauge being within the KPI or not. Okay, so finally, let's just go into this one. So regular deliverability monitoring. So use SmartLead, Mail Meteor, or Email Guard to test deliverability. I've already showed you how you can do that for SmartLead. Just basically follow the wizard on that platform, and it's just going to test your campaign's deliverability. Okay, Outlook IP management. If flagged, I already talked about this. They put you on a high IP risk. You can request support and reroll your IP every 15 days. Google prioritizes domain reputation over IP reputation. So make sure if you're doing Outlook, your IP is good. If it's bad, just re-roll it. If you're doing Google, make sure you are using aged domains and warming up the emails. So as you can see, it all plays into part, right? Monitor DMARC reports weekly and catch any issues early. Okay, list cleaning and targeting hacks. Okay, so always clean your list before sending. Use a tool like Reune, Zero Bounce, or Million Verifier. So as you can see, this is how it looks like. So this is, for example, Reune that we have tested. This was a small list. As you can see, you can check the save, you can check the role, the catch-all, disposable, inbox trap, and all of that unknown. You generally just want to download the safe one. All of these softwares, by the way, are doing the exact same thing. So just download the safe one, download the catch-all, and that's really all you need. There's a way to clean the catch-all emails as well if you want to. You can use a software called Enrichly, which is quite, well, it's just the most affordable out of these, but still a lot more expensive than just cleaning a regular list. So I only recommend you to do it if you have a good list and if you need just to squeeze a little bit more out of that list. Okay, so this is how Reune is. Very simple. You want to keep your bounce rate below 2%. Bounce rate is correlated with your email list's cleanliness. So if it's not clean, you're gonna have a high bounce rate. So remove all the invalid, disposable, like I already said. Just go with safe, and that's it. You should be good to go. Okay, so identify the right cold email avatar. People who get fewer marketing emails respond more. Avoid C-level executives at large enterprises because they have secretaries who track their emails and they're just gonna go to spam. They're not gonna read it. Focus on decision makers in small companies. So think of like 10 to 50, or if you really want to talk with like people who are sort of smaller companies, you can do from 0. Okay, you can target people also based on recent job posting, fundraising rounds, recent media interactions, signs of business growth. Okay, let's get into writing emails that land in the inbox. So here's just a few things you should keep in mind and you should avoid. Okay, so no attachments, don't send PDFs, Word document, no embedded images, videos. Best to use trusted links. If you do so, it's still risky. I don't recommend to do it. If you're using your own domain, it is going to get, you know, sent straight to spam. So use Loom, use YouTube, Vimeo, or any of these platforms that have trusted domains. No custom tracking codes. Be mindful of spammy words. So avoid phrases like 100% free, guaranteed, best prices. So there's basically, we cover this in detail inside the paid program, but this is mostly a hoax. But if you want to stay safe, you can do so. Generally, at some point, like guaranteed, we have to use a word like that. It's unavoidable. And, you know, there are tools like Mail Meteor, which just gives you an accurate representation of a spam score. It's not based on like any data. This is sort of just what they came up with, and a lot of tools we utilize. It's not based on like actual algorithms. But if you want to stay safe, just make sure your email score is clean. Like as you can see, like if I put here $3 guaranteed, it's going to mark as overpromised the money, so it's going to flag it most likely. Well, it is mainly a hoax. It's not proven, but if you want to stay on the safe side, you can use this, no problem. Run it through Mail Meteor spam tracker if you want to do this. Okay, finally, keep it simple, readable. Email should be under 150 words. Write at a 6th grade reading level. You can use the free Hemingway app to check whether it's under the 6th grade reading level. Avoid jargon. Your goal is to sound clear. It's clarity and not complexity. Okay, so another thing I like to just keep you in mind is basically like you only really need to do this if the email is cold. So your first email is obviously going to be cold, but once a prospect's reply to it, it is going to turn warm. So at that point you can send links, but when it's cold, don't send any links. So make sure you keep this in mind when it's cold. But when it's warm, so once somebody replies to it, you can send as many links, as many spam words, as many tracking codes as you want. But when it's cold, don't do it. It's going to go to spam. But once they reply, it's a different story. So that point becomes warm and you can do these things. Okay, so as for sending strategy, what works, what doesn't? So gradual scaling to avoid spams. Don't send more than 25 emails per day from a fresh inbox. Start small, gradually increase the volume, 4 to 6 emails per day per inbox, and ramping up over time. We already talked about this briefly. Spacing matters also. Don't send all your emails at the same time. At least spend like 25 to 30 minutes between each email. You can easily set that up to like Smart Lead. Testing, so use A/B testing for subject lines, offer, and different segments. Also, don't do multiple A/B tests at the same time. So if you're just doing an A/B test, either test subject line, the offer, or the segment. Because if you're testing, for example, subject line and offer as well as a different segment, a subject line could be a positive change, an offer could be a positive change, but the segment could be a detrimental change, and you would still notice two positives generally outweigh the negative, and in together you would still see a positive impact. And you don't know for sure which of these caused it, if they're all positive or negative. But you know, in hindsight, you can see if you only check like one thing at a time. So for example, if you only check the subject line, okay, that's good, you move on. You check the offer, okay, it's still good, and then you change the segment and it becomes worse. Then you can see exactly, okay, I don't need to do that, I need to take that different direction. So that's why I mean, every single week at least change one thing, don't change multiple things at a time when you're A/B testing. Okay, so track for open and reply rates, then refine your campaigns. I only recommend you to do this at the beginning. As I mentioned, it screws up your campaign, but you want to make sure emails are going out, they're fine, they're being open, everything. So to talk about the inverse marketing law, wealthier prospects are less likely to reply, broke prospects more likely to reply, but often unqualified. The balance is targeting high value clients while ensuring you're not wasting emails on unqualified leads, right? The people who have less money, they're more likely to talk to you. The people who have more money, they're less likely to talk to you. So you have to keep this in mind. It all comes down to, you know, your targeting. Like C-level executives are not going to reply. They have a ton of money. Unfortunately, you're not going to get into their inboxes, sadly, because people are managing it. If you target some like web design person in India, they're going to most likely reply, but they most likely don't have the money to afford your service or product or solution. So you have to keep this in mind. You have to find the sweet spot as well. If you want to create enterprise deals, I recommend you to go down the corporate ladder and just try to, so if this C-level executives, you know, target somewhere down like in the managerial range, because they have authority as well. They could make decisions, and a lot of people overlook it. So just a quick little tip. All right, some final takeaways. So deliverability is king. If you don't land in the inbox, nothing else matters. Email setup is everything. Authentication, everything. Warm up, hygiene must be in place. Target strategically. You could have all that in place and you're targeting the wrong people. If you're selling, well, glass doors to pizza restaurant, all of your email is going to go to terrible metrics, right? Because you're targeting the wrong people with the wrong offer, so it's not going to work. All right, keep your copy simple, 6th grader level, no unnecessary links, attachments, just avoid spam, and iterate, and finally track everything. So implement everything I've shown you and you're not going to have any problems with your deliverability. So once we have covered this, I'm going to show you what I promised. You always get a trinket after each of these segments. So this time it is going to be the frameworks that you can just steal and see results today. Well, hopefully you implement them today and not just watch this video and continue on. So if you reach this far, I recommend you to just write up a few of these and implement them on your own. So if you have a small ask, give value first, personal method, case study, let's work together, the direct value proposition, the problem solution hook, results first approach, pay on results basis, and well, efficiency booster, step-by-step process, and predictable growth pitch. So we have around 10-15 of these frameworks. I'm going to link this again in the first link in the description. This is just free. You can just download it, just click the first link and it's going to be there. All right, so this was it about emails. I'm going to show you how you can scrape the leads and, well, start today with emails. Back everyone. Today I'm going to show you how you can scrape leads for free and effectively, as well as automate the whole process. I'm going to show you what you should be doing and what a lot of people are doing, which you should be avoiding to get ahead of them. All right, let's get into it. So first of all, what a lot of people are doing, I'm just going to clear this off out of the way so you know what you need to avoid. All right, say my ICP is marketing agencies in the US. What a lot of people just do, they go to Apollo, right? Apollo is fine, but they just put US. They put their employee size, was their preference. I'm going to show you a little bit of a tip about this as well. We're looking for employees within this range. Okay, then what a lot of people also are doing is just going to management and just clicking owner, founder, C-suite, partner, right? We want to talk to those decision makers, right? So we want to talk to the owners. All right, sure, buddy, let's go. So you want to put email status as well as unverified, right? That's something just a given. This is sort of a no-brainer. Otherwise, you have emails that are pretty much no-go. And then you just put your keywords here, right? So here's your keyword: software development, web design, web development, right? Okay, so with this, you get like 60K leads, and I'll tell you exactly why this is bad. But firstly, the problem with this method, right? So this keyword feature sucks. It has improved a lot. So as you can see, you could have like, you can see what it filters for, right? So company name. So whether or not it has this in the company name. So as you can see, we're looking for software development companies, web design companies, web development companies. But what it actually does, it gives us companies who have the name software, web development, or just web design in their name. Like as you can see, web development, Echo 5 Digital, Web3, custom software, as well as like we of course enabled like social media tags. But this was a new feature Apollo added, because as previously it just had company names, but now you can enable all of these. So if you're doing this method, at least for the love of God, just enable all of them, like enable SEO description as well, so you're getting something similar, something like okay amount of leads, right? So with this example, it's just a little bit better. As you can see, we already scraped some of these emails up. But the problem with this, right, essentially you're doing this while your competitors are doing this as well, and you're wasting just a ton of leads, because and probably this is the biggest total addressable market inside these databases. So let's not do this, because if you do this, you're going to be messaging the same type of people that everybody else is messaging, and your leads are going to be bombarded every single day with just generic emails. And even if you have a killer offer, killer copy, you know, it's just going to be a problem just landing in the inboxes of these people, because they just get so many emails, and most likely they have something set up so their emails will get filtered, because it's just so annoying for them, right? So what that means is, if you're just doing cold email to them, so your email reputation is going to tank and your campaign is not going to perform. You're going to waste time and money on just stuff that doesn't work. So I'm going to show exactly what you should be doing instead. So let's just think of an example, right? So in our case, we are primarily focused around AgTech companies inside our main agency Corporate. So that's just what we're going to look for in today's example. All right, so what we need to do is very simple. We need to look for the directories, so the source. We need to go to the source, and what you'll do is just simply just type in the words what you need. In this case, I'm looking for AgTech companies, especially AgTech database, or you could do AgTech company database, any of the combination. Just try to think of like manually how you could research this, right? So let's just pick an example. Do PitchBook. It is going to verify that you're human. All right, so this is one of them. Let's just look for another one. All right, let's just open up all of these, right, to see which one of them is worth our time. But most likely the ones I've already viewed at are the ones that good. Okay, so let's just load all of them. So here is 50 AgTech companies. Yeah, so in this one, this isn't a database. This is more of a newsletter. You could click here. Let's see, brand. Yeah, no, this one is not good. 2022. Again, this is just an article. This is Crunchbase, which is not what we're doing in this video. Crunchbase is, again, just another database like Apollo. But what I'm going to show you here is very, very simple, and you'll understand exactly how to do this. All right, yeah, perfect. So we found quite a few, and I'll give you a distinction between two of them. So two of them are free, and I'll explain why. So let's just start off with the paid ones, right? So this is called PitchBook. As you can see, it says there's almost 12,000 AgTech companies. But if you want all the data, you're going to have to pay. And this is really just more of a a research platform. They don't really give you that many company details. So I would just avoid this solution. But there are like specific databases like Surfy says top 10 AgChem companies for a guide for sales, right? It says they have almost 37,000 AgTech companies. And it seems like they've got a free trial going on to access all of that. But what you can do is, again, you can just scrape all these. And what we'll be doing here today is we're going to use Easy Scraper or Instant Data Scraper. All right, so we're going to use either one of these tools. They're both pretty much the same. This one's just a little bit more popular. I do believe this one is just tiny bit better. It has better features. So we're going to use Easy Scraper for this example. All right, so we're going to go back here. And in this case, there's only 10 here. We're going to click Easy Scraper. And what it does, you don't need to do anything, right? It automatically detects these fields, right? The data that you want to scrape. And what we're looking for is, just to sum up, we're looking for domains, right? We're looking for these domains right here that we can later put inside Apollo and then enrich and get those data that nobody else is getting but you. All right, so this is obviously an easy example. You can just click this and you have 10 companies. 10 companies, not a lot, but you know, my goal with this is just to show you how you could do it. And obviously, if you want to, you can sign up. All right, okay, so I've just signed up for the free trial that they have going on here on Surf. So this seems like another B2B database, but this one is quite good because obviously Apollo, you cannot really filter on specific industries that well. They have a few categories, but in this one, you can filter for AgTech, which is quite good. So in this case, I'm going to show you the differences between just something like this and something like just something a little bit more advanced, right? Because as you can see, there's only like 10 companies per page. You don't want to just save like 10 companies in a file. That's just going to take way too long. So what you could do is just make sure you open it up inside like a spreadsheet here. So all right, so this is the data that we scraped, right? Just from this page, this is what we scraped, and I'm going to show you how you can use it. So you have you don't need to care about any of this, right? None of this, only the company domains, which you can see right here. You copy these and you go back to Apollo. Let's just delete all these. All right, so we got something fresh. So make sure you have email status enabled or just verified. And then what you need to do, a little bit different, is just come to company. You click include list of companies. We're going to put our list. This is only 10 companies, just for the sake of example. And then we're going to click save and search. And it is going to give us all the employees for these companies. So make sure it loads, you know, make sure everything's good. And as you can see, there's 80,000 employees here. Obviously, these are probably the biggest companies in AgTech. As you can see, there's Bayer here as well. There's just so many people that work there. Maybe there's like an employee count. Yeah, as you can see. So that's just for the example. But okay, so let's just think of a different example, another exercise, right? So again, we logged on to Surf, just something random I found on my way of doing research for this. So in this case, all you really need to do again is just click Easy Scraper and it will load up the data. But in this case, since this is it didn't recognize, what you can do is you can just click hover on what you want to scrape and you can just scrape it. And what you need to do is just quick scroll to load more page or link to navigate to next page or click on button. In this case, it's the button, right? So we need to click select and we need to look for the button. All right, so and then it's just going to start scraping. The only problem with this, right, is this site seems to be very well protected. And as you can see, we are only able to search just one of these and we don't get the right data. So in this case, try using something else. It's okay. So let's just think of another example. I opened something else in the meanwhile in the background as well. So this is just super ideal. This is usually what you find, right? So just some random ass news site on the industry that you want, and it just lists a whole bunch of companies which nobody targets, right? So in this case, all you really need to do is just click here and just click on the list. As you can see, it recognizes everything nicely because they don't have any data scraping protection on this. So it's all good. And what you need to do is just click load on the next button. So in this case, again, it's just an arrow and you click this and you click start scraping, right? And it does the job for you. As you can see, it goes on to the next page. I'm not doing anything. It loads and it scrapes again. So you can put here how much time it should scroll for. You can also put the max items, just put it something crazy or just leave it blank. And you can put like scrape very fast, right? So just start scraping. I'm going to show you this example with Easy Scraper as well as Instant Data Scraper. So if you want to use this, just try this. As you can see, recognize the wrong table, but that's fine. You can click try another table until you get what you're looking for, right? So this is what we want. Here we have the links for the companies, and then we can, what you need to do is just put something like something faster and click locate next button. So in this case, this is this. You can start crawling, or if it's just an infinite score, you can click it. That's why I like Easy Scraper, because it has a little bit more features. We can click this and it is going to scrape everything for you very nicely. As you can see, it does everything super fast, super duper fast. We're not having any problems because I put it on 1 to 3 second delay. We're already on page 10. We have a ton of data collected. And okay, let's just stop here. And I'm going to download it as a CSV right here. So I'm going to show you why you should be using Easy Scraper instead in scenarios like this. It's good we ran into this roadblock, because this way I can show you exactly what's the problem with Instant Data Scraper, the Pokemon tool, right? So you don't get the exact company domain just from this search, but you get directed to a different page which you cannot use to enrich through Apollo. If you try to do it, it is just going to use this domain, which makes sense, right? Because it's a subdirectory of this domain, and this is not good. An Instant Data Scraper doesn't have a function which just goes deeper into the specifics. So let me show you what we got. This is what we got, right? So this is the image. We don't need the image. The thumbnail, don't need the thumbnail. This is what we need, right? So all the same domain, because it's inside this directory, and as you can see, there are all these different companies, which is really good for us. But again, if we go into one of them, then it's going to show the website, and you might be thinking, okay, but how we get inside of it? We only have this link. So let me show you how. So you go back to Easy Scraper. This is a feature that Instant Scraper doesn't have. You click, instead of scrape list, you scrape the details, and you choose the file which you scrape. So we scrape that with Instant Data Scraper. You can do that with Easy Scraper as well. Doesn't matter. But what you need to do in this case, right? So if you have this domain within the page itself, which is usually the case, like as you can see, concert.bio, right? You need to do a list scrape, and then you need to do a detail scrape. All right, so as you can see, it recognizes the pages, right? So if you click continue, it is going to bring you to one of the example pages, and within this page, you can easily click just new scraper, and it just gives you what you want, right? So if you want the name, it is going to collect the name. If you want the website, which you should want, it is going to give you. In this case, well, this is just for job openings, but you can just do, if you want, like the whole contact information as well, or just where they are, like Texas, right? So you can click finish, and it's going to collect 4 of these details in every single time, right? So Harvest Returns, that's the name of the company, where it's located, as well as the company domain. And with that in mind, you can just click continue. You can start scraping, or you can just select how fast it should go, and then let it go. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up all of these pages that we saw here. And as you can see, you can do it in the background as well. You don't need to be here. It is going to go through and collect. For some reason, it missed 4 and 7, but I think the data was just not there for some reason. Not sure why. And what it does is it's just going to go through and give you all those juicy domains, right? So very simple, very cool. It does it automatically. As you can see, there's 130 more. There's, I think, like 1,000 companies in this whole directory, which is quite a lot. I'm not going to obviously go through the whole thing, so I'm just going to show you again how you can use this. It's just, again, just open up a random Google Sheet and just input the scraped data that you have. Let it obviously go through, and if you have like any problems with scraping, just make sure you dial it down on a lower setting. You can plug your computer on at night if you have a laptop, or you just leave PC on at night. Just put it to sleep. It will do its job regardless. You don't need to have an active tab focused. I just put it like something like 5 to 25 seconds, and you're not going to have problems scraping thousands and thousands of companies. So with that in mind, here we have the good and the juicy domains. So we can just go back to Apollo and just input these domains, right? So these are going to be smaller companies. This is more of a niche database. But since we put a lot more of these companies in, we have 135,000 leads we could target. Now the problem is, right, we don't want to target all of these people because it would just be too many. So what I recommend you to do instead is just, again, location is fine. Location is absolutely fine. We don't have a beef with location. Just put US or whatever. Let's just say for this example, I want to target US companies. So US, there's only 25K people that we can target at this point, which is fine. Let's just do job titles. What I recommend you to do is, again, just you can use owner, you can use founder as well as C-suite partner. But the problem is, if you're targeting big companies, you're not going to be able to reach these people because they have people who are actively screening their emails for these types of cold emails that you're trying to send them. So even if you want to only send to these people, they're not going to respond to you. So there is an inverse effect in marketing. So the more money people have, the less likely it is that they want to talk to you. And unfortunately, the less money they have, the more likely it is they're going to talk to you. So let's just think of an example of how we can fix this. Obviously, you don't want to target interns. You don't want to target entry-level people or even seniors for that matter. But you can put VP, you can put head, you can put director. And this one's a controversial one, but you can put manager. The reason I like to do it is because it gives me just a whole bunch more to work with, first of all, as well as you don't know the regional managers have certain authority and it's worth it to send to them because, first of all, who wouldn't want more opportunities, right? So important, just click managers, and even if it just extends the sales cycle, it doesn't matter because you're going to have a lot more opportunities. Right, for the next one, I don't recommend you to target 1 to 10 employee companies. Reason is because they're most likely broke and they cannot afford your services. So do 11 to 20 and 21 to 50. This is the sweet spot, right? So you can also do 51 to 100. Well, obviously we did not get that many because the bulk of it is from these enterprise companies, but that's fine. So it's important to do a lot of these. We only put like 10 companies, right? So if you put 1,000, you're not going to be out of leads. If you get like 1,000 of these, companies, because AgTech is sort of segmented and niche, and there's still like 5,000-6,000 companies in your niche. There's more likely than 10,000 companies which you can play with, and for every 10 companies there's like at least 30 contacts. So you should not have any problems just getting like tens of thousands of leads you can reach out to. And if you get lost on what to do after you've gone through them, you can just always create a new campaign with a new offer and just retarget those people with a different angle. All right, in the meanwhile, this is still scraping. So as you can see, it took 5 minutes. We already got 77. So if I were to use this, I could just put 60 more of these companies, but I don't really need this, just for the sake of example. And obviously each page is going to look different. Let's just think of this example as well. All right, so right off the bat, I got 104 companies I could use. Obviously we don't have the exact domain, but you can just do what I've just shown you here. Again, it's just click scrape list. We got the list, we input the list, and very simply, it's just going to bring me to this page. And man, every single time, all of these directories are the same. It has the name. You don't really need anything besides the domain, but I'm just showing you. So you can just click start scraping options, and it'll do the exact same thing. It's just going to go to the next one. There's the domain again. Another 5-10 prospects we can email per like couple of seconds, right? And these are domains and companies that nobody else is targeting. And you might be thinking, okay, but they're still on Apollo, and if you just bash the whole Apollo database, then you'll get to them. Sure, that's obviously true. But the problem is, usually these companies you cannot find with keyword targets or industry targets because, for example, these are within agriculture, AgTech, and you cannot target AgTech company with just keywords on Apollo. So that's why it's important to go to the directories, just like I've shown you. There's so many of them. I've just found like there's another one here, right? So there's 70 of them here. Obviously our niche is small, but 70 is good. Again, what I could do is just click scrape list. I could scrape details. I could put this one here, and I could do this. Here we have the website. Every single time, if you want the name, if you want the website, all you need to do is this, and just make sure it goes a little bit faster for the sake of this example. And again, as you can see, another website right here, another website right here, another 5 to 10 leads per company we could just target, right? So this is really all you need to do, it's not complex. I'm not sure why a lot of people are not doing this. So make sure you don't make this mistake of just going with Apollo, going with Crunchbase, or any of the lead databases that you're using. Just don't use like keywords filters. Just do the work, go get those domains and just enrich them. And once you do, just you could use Apollo, you could use any of the databases, you know, out there pretty much respectively. If you're doing like tech, just use Crunchbase, right? If you want this sheet, like we literally tested every single lead database. I'm gonna put this in the link in the description. So if you want this sheet, if you want to compare yourself, okay, which of the databases are best to use, which has the best pricing, once you have these domains, then you can just check this out for yourself. And you know, once you have this, if you want to use Apollo, I recommend you to use a tool like LeadDeck. And if you join the community, you get 75% off, which is quite cool. So if you want to scrape this, all you really need to do is just click here, put the Apollo link, put your email, your file name, and the amount of leads you want. And then you can just order this and it will be delivered to you within a couple hours. And you can get leads for as cheap as $1 per 1,000 leads. So really you cannot beat that, but you can really use any tool to enrich it. At the moment, there's only Apollo, but there will be Crunchbase, LinkedIn, and all sorts of other databases that you can enrich this with. But again, you can just use anything that you prefer. This was not focused on local business scraping. We're going to talk about that more in a different video, but that still applies. So if you're just looking for, say, roofers in select area, there is directories of roofers. Local business scraping is a little bit more simple, I would say. It's different. It's not the same. I think it's just a little bit more simple. But if you do that, you're not going to get the best results. And we'll be posting a video very shortly on how you can do that as well for local business scraping if that's the niche that you're targeting. All right, so with that in mind, again, if you want this sheet, it will be in the description. If you want to talk with me or my team on how you can automate this process, you can click the second link in the description. And with that in mind, I'll see you in the next one. All right, everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to talk about cold calling, whether or not if it's even worth it for you to begin with in 2025, or you think it's that. I'm going to show you otherwise. I'm going to show you some KPIs that you should be doing at minimum to secure yourself some results, and what sort of numbers you should be doing and what sort of results you should expect from cold calling. All right, let's get into it. So cold calling is still one of the best ways to connect with decision makers, right? The simple reason is because, you know, nothing really beats a phone conversation. Sure, you can reach out via social media, email, but, you know, nothing really beats that, like, one-to-one, like, personal connection that you have with someone on the phone. You know, that's given if they pick up the phone, and I'll tell you why that's important. So when you're on the phone, you can handle objections on the spot, you can build rapport instantly and stand out in a way that you just cannot with digital outreach. Like, for example, with email, everybody's just using automation tools. Social media, same thing. But if you come on the phone, well, sure, there are AI cold callers, but everybody knows what they are and, you know, how to spot them. So if you just get on the phone with them, you can have a genuine conversation, and it's just so much more powerful, right, than just shooting an email. So in this module, we'll walk you through our proven cold calling system, everything from getting past gatekeepers to nailing your pitch. Well, the goal, to make sure you're talking to the right people and turning those conversations into real results, which should be meetings and close deals for you, right? Some KPIs to keep in mind. So if you've tried cold calling before, but you did not see any results, it might be that you haven't done enough. And that's okay. I'm just going to show you exactly what I recommend you to do. If you're a beginner, I'm going to show you some scripts as well in the coming chapters. So track your progress, right? So track each and every single dial that you do, each and every single pickup, the pitches that you delivered, and finally the appointments, because at that point you can see yourself improving. You can see where the issue is. For example, right? So if you're doing a lot of dials, but not many people are picking up, what does that mean, right? It means that the leads are bad. The lead list needs improving. So if you're doing a lot of dials, many people pick up, but you cannot get to pitch them, that means your delivery is off and your script needs improving. Simple as that. And if you're pitching a lot of people, right, but people are not booking, What does that mean? It means that you cannot close them, right? It's not a hard close, it's just a appointment close, but still you need to tweak the script, you need to tweak the delivery, you need to tweak the offer as well, because the pitch is not compelling enough for them to spend 15, 30, 45 minutes on a talk with you. Or it might be that you haven't done enough social proof, you haven't built enough rapport yet. So all of these, just keep in mind. But my recommendations are dial at least 100 people a day. Out of those, if it really, like worst case scenario, you should have 20 pickups, right? And out of those 20, you should at least deliver like 5 pitches, right? So out of those 5 pitches, you should get at least 1 appointment. So this is what really you should keep in mind. If you're doing $300 a day, you should not have any problems booking 3+ meetings every single day. So let's just do some calculations, right? So obviously with this one, you cannot dial every single day, right? So you need to dial on weekdays. So we have Monday, we have Tuesday, we have Wednesday, we have Thursday, and we have Friday, right? These are really only days that you can dial on. You don't want to dial people on weekends. Well, it really depends on the industry, but I don't recommend you to do it. If they're like sole business owner, if they're, not an employee, but business owner, might be worth a shot in like home improvement niches and stuff like that. But otherwise, just stick to these recommendations I'm going to show you. So Monday is good, but the reason Monday is not the best, I would say it's mid, is because everybody just gets back to work on Monday. They have stuff from last week that they most likely have not finished, right? So they overdo with a lot of work, and if you're just calling them, most likely they're going to be busy. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are top for cold calling. These are the best days to do dials because it's the middle of the week. They most likely got the stuff done from last week. They have started with the new work, as well as they have some time. Thursday is okay as well. That's, I would say, like between these two, like top and mid, or high mid. Let's do high mid. And we have Friday. Well, Friday just is kind of mid as well, right? It's even like worse, like mid minus, right? Mid minus, and we can call this a mid plus Monday, right? I know the tiering doesn't really make sense, but just keep in mind, top is the best. These are the 2 best days to dial. So Tuesdays, Wednesday, Monday, Friday, not ideal. Thursday, you can get some good meetings out of it. So what that really means is you really only have 2 to 3 days out of the week to really make an impact. Sure, you can dial, and I recommend you to dial as well on these days, but you need to prioritize these 3 days in the middle. Otherwise, you're not going to do really well. So if you take like 3 good days times 4, and let's say that's really 12 days that you can dial in consistently. So 12 days, if you're doing 300 dials, that's $3,600 a month. Let's say, out of this, you should be booking at least like 20 appointments, like worst case scenario, right? 20 to 40 appointments, right? So that should be really the goal. And really that's just a couple hours worth of effort. And from those, you can easily sign like 4 to 5 clients, no problem. All right, so cold calling funnel. First, you need the leads, right? You need to scrape the leads. Then you need to clean the leads, make sure they're mobile numbers. So that's really all you need to do. Next is you dial them, get past the gatekeepers if there are any. If there is none, good for you. If there is, you might need to consider switching niches, like in the medical industry. It's pretty much impossible to do cold calling, but you can obviously get through the gatekeepers. I'm going to show that in the following videos, so just stay tuned. All right, then you need to deliver your pitch. I recommend you to do our 30-second pitch framework, which I'm going to show you like in 2-3 minutes, so just be patient. The reason is because most likely you're a beginner. Even if you're not, I recommend you to start off with this script because it just works, right? So the goal is to pitch them as soon as possible, making sure that one day on the phone, you got them on the phone, that they know who you are, what you do, etc., and then they can decide, hey, if it's worth pursuing or not, right? So then you handle objections. Most likely they have some doubts, so make sure you handle them. And finally, just closing for an appointment. So make sure you have Calendly ready, make sure you have your appointment setter ready, and to schedule in that appointment. All right, so why this really works is, again, just human engagement, direct human to human. You call up someone on like this by email, social media. You can optimize this process to a T. So as you can see, we have these numbers like pretty much dialed in. If you follow what we lay out for you in this program, you can easily book an appointment just for 100 dials. And these are like totally cold prospects. And these are like really the lowest of the low benchmarks that you should be hitting. Ideally, you should be booking like 2 meetings from 100 dials. So psychological triggers, so leveraging proven persuasion techniques. Scalability could be an issue, but I'll show you exactly how you can get around it in the following chapters. So what's next? Again, I'm just going to give you the scripts that we use, some strategies, as well as how to handle those gatekeepers and scrape those leads. So let's get into it. I'll see you there. Okay, welcome. You have made it inside the calling system. So we're going to give you the 30-second pitch framework. So this is everything that you really need to know about cold calling to get started. It's a very short document. I'm going to give you the exact script as well, since you made it this far. So you can just click the first link again in the description. You can just take the resource and just use it. So cold calling is all about capturing attention immediately. 30-second pitch framework just ensures your call is concise, structured, and effective. So the 4 key elements to the 30-second pitch are just the opener, pitch, the structure, and finally the close. So the opener just sets the tone and gains permission. The pitch, well, you state the problem and introduce yourself as the solution. And then we have the structure that just keeps control of the conversation and guides the prospects to take the next step, which is the close. So here you can handle objections and move to the next step, which should be booking that appointment. Okay, so we're going to cover each of them in detail, and I'm going to give you the scripts I recommend you to do. First of all, the opener, you need to immediately disarm the prospect, lower their sales resistance. So the best way to do it is just by using honesty and directness. So example, hey John, I'll be honest, this is a cold call. Would you like me to hang up now, or can I take 30 seconds to explain why I called? Hey John, this is Sabo calling from Corporate. I know I caught you out of the blue, but can I take 30 seconds to explain why I'm calling? So you get the point. You can use something like this, or if you want like an exact framework, you could just scroll down and get the script. Again, you can come here, click file, make a copy, and you can create a document for yourself. All right, so why this works? It acknowledges the fact that it's a cold call, a sales call. It builds trust. It gives the prospects a way out, reducing resistance. It creates social contract where they typically let you speak. All right, and I'm going to give you a few more examples. So if someone just comes here and just downloads this, they're not going to find this, what I'm going to share. So here are a few good openers as well that you can just copy. So, hey John, would I totally ruin your morning or whenever time you're calling if I mention it was a cold call? You could say that as well. It really, again, is just honesty, directness, and people tend to like this stuff. Or you could say something like, hey John, I'll be honest with you, this is a cold call, but a well-researched one. Can I have 30 seconds? You know, something like this. So there's just a whole bunch you could use, but generally, like, be direct, be honest, and this should just get you enough to get started with. All right, next we have the pitch, problem, solution, differentiation. So once you get permission, your pitch must quickly identify a common pain point your prospect is facing and how you solve it. So formula, I typically work with, insert your ICP here, who struggle with problem. What we do is solution so they can get desired outcome. An example, I typically work with gym owners who struggle to consistently book qualified sales calls. So what we do is we provide pre-qualified leads that show up ready to buy so they can scale the membership efficiently. There's another example as well for you if you need the point driven across a little bit more. Why this works, again, it just quickly identifies the problem the prospect is related to. It positions you yourself as the expert in the industry. Make sure you use industry lingo as well if you can. It shows that you have a clear solution. Okay, and we have the structure, so keeping control. So after you pitch, don't pause for too long or give them too much time for rejection, right? So the key is to keep the conversation going. And how to do this is ask a question immediately after the pitch. Use a mini close to move them to the next step. So example could be, does that sound like something you're dealing with, John? I'm guessing this is an issue for you, right? Would that be worth a quick, you could use this a little bit more direct if you're doing something like a warm call. Would that be worth a quick 10-minute chat to see if this could work for you? This keeps the conversation flowing and prevents them immediate dismissal, right? Because obviously, if you did the research, they're going to say, yeah, sure, it does. Or they could have some different objections, which we can get into later. Okay, so finally the close. Booking the call, the prospect express interest, lock in the meeting immediately. So have your Calendly, have your scheduling software ready, and just book them in for the time that they pick. So how to do this? Give them two options. I have some time this Thursday at 10 a.m. or Friday at 2 p.m. Which works for you? Create urgency. So my schedule fills up quite quickly, so let's lock this in right now. If anything changes, we can always just adjust. Okay, confirm commitment. Just say something like, great, I'll send you a calendar invite right now. You'll be there, right? You don't need to specifically simply say this, is it lowers your authority. But there's ways to obviously confirm without saying something like this. You could say, have you received a calendar invite? And they could be, yeah, I'll check after the call. Can you just make sure that I got the time right? And they were like, okay, fine. And they see it, they confirm, okay, it works. And then you got the confirmation. So why this works, it gives them a choice as an open-ended question when it works for you. It sets expectation and ensures the prospect actually commits. And if you employ this with the 90% show up rate trick that I've shown you at the beginning of this video, then you're going to see great results and people showing up. Big problem with cold calling is people not showing up for the time that they booked. All right, some final thoughts. The more you rehearse, the more natural you're going to sound. Tonality matters, so speak confidently but not aggressively. Speak like a friend, right? Adjust on the fly. If the prospect seems interested, extend the conversation slightly. So by mastering this 30-second pitch framework, you're dramatically going to increase your cold calling success rate and overall just book a ton of more meetings. So really, if you can get past like the opener, which you should be able to, like most of the time, you can get the pitch going, and it is really good. Like what matters is just getting your pitch across. If it's compelling, if you got a great offer, you have a great chance of just landing a meeting right there. So this is what I recommend for beginners, 30-second pitch framework, and I'm going to give you what we use inside Crop Reach. This is pretty much it. Some final notes: keep it natural, avoid sounding too robotic, pause after a few key moments to let them engage as well as your message to sink in, handle objections smoothly, and keep the conversation going. All right, next step is we're going to talk about the messaging system. So I'm going to see you right there. All right, welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to give you a quick intro on cold SMS, whether or not if it's even legal, or if it's not, I'm going to show you exactly the laws that you need to follow in order for you to stay compliant, and everything else you need to know. So let's just get straight into it. Cold messaging, right? People think about cold messaging as some sort of taboo, some sort of middle ground, but I'm here to explain you all the rules, all the laws, so you can just keep compliant. But one thing I want you to do is make sure you don't listen to me. You go and verify these laws for yourself, because by the time this video comes out, they might have changed, something might have affected, but as of the time of recording this video, these are the laws. I'm going to show you exactly what they mean and what they are. All right, so cold messaging is legal, question mark, right? So cold messaging is just about sending unsolicited messages to potential customers. It sits in sort of a legal gray area and varies significantly by region, location, and just platform overall. So legalities depend whether or not you had prior contact established and whether or not it complies with regulatory frameworks such as the TCPA, the US GDPR, and finally the EU can spam commercial emails. Also, this is more of an email law, but it is more referring to cold outreach in general. All right, so what you should keep in mind are these key considerations. Okay, so number one, if you had prior contact and you're engaging them via SMS, you're absolutely fine. You don't need to worry about any of it. So what that really means is, right, so for example, you contacted someone on email and they sent you a nice little reply. That means that lead is warm, and then you can message them on SMS, no problem. What you should not be doing is just doing like a whole bunch of people, right? So like hundreds or thousands of people, and just sending them SMS messages. That doesn't really sit well with, number one, the sending platforms as well as the laws. So you're going to get yourself banned from these platforms. So make sure you don't do that. Who you can message is anyone who had prior contact with you. Right. The other thing you need to do is opt-in mechanism. So reply, stop to unsubscribe. We all know the classic. I recommend you to be a little bit more creative. All right. So think of it like this. If somebody sees this, they automatically know it's an automated message. So you need to think of something else, right? One example could be, hey, just ping me back if I'm totally barking at the wrong tree, right? And I'll stop following. Or you could say, just message me back, John, if this isn't relevant, I'll not be reaching out to you, or just cross you off my list, whatever. You want to sound human, you don't want to sound robotic, and there's just ways you can do it. Obviously, this is not required. It is definitely going to decrease your reply rates as well as your conversions rates in general. So, this is really your cup of tea. But if you want to follow everything, make sure you have this in place. Then we need to identify yourself clearly. So message must include the identity. You can't just say, hey, 20% off XYZ. You should at least have your name or your company's name. Either one is fine. You need a way to establish and let them know who the hell you are. That's it. So Number one, make sure you have prior contact, make sure there's an opt-in mechanism, and well, make sure that there is, clarity on who's sending the messages so that they know. Using approved platforms, that's finally something like Textla, Twilio, WhatsApp, iMessage. So they have their own limitations. So make sure you read up on those. If you want a cold message, warm message automation tool, we recommend you to use Textla. You get a discount code if you sign up with our code. We don't take any affiliates or anything. That's the software we personally use. You can use Twilio, but that's just way more advanced than what most people are used to. And to be frankly, what you really need if you're just doing cold messaging in general. All right, WhatsApp and iMessage is good, but obviously those are slightly different. They all have their different rules. All right, finally, I'm just going to give you some best practices to stay within compliance. So make sure you segment your list. Make sure everybody is, again, had prior contact with you. So best ways to do cold message is to have a lead list, sort of like a database reactivation campaign. So if you had like hundreds, maybe thousands of leads who have had prior contact with you, they have gone cold, and then you just re-engage them with SMS, right? So that's the goal. Then we want to use the proper platforms. We don't want to get banned. We don't want to overpay these sending platforms. Generally, again, I recommend Textla. I think it's just 1 cent per SMS, which is quite good. If you want to send out 1,000, it's going to cost you $10. You should be getting like a few meetings off of that. Follow industry specific rules. Some industries like finance, healthcare have stricter regulations in place, as well as if you want to talk generic platform rules, like WhatsApp also has different rules, and you also need to pay I do believe like a few pennies just for each WhatsApp message. So it might be worth considering just using iMessage or just any other SMS platform besides WhatsApp, right? And you also get categorized. So if you're sending like marketing material, it is going to be pretty much 3, 4, 5 times as costly. These are dollar signs. If you're just sending like a confirmation message through WhatsApp, right? So you need to look into it. This is just a summary. Messaging is only legal if prior contact has been made, what I've shown you here today. So if you want to say fully legal, make sure you follow these. And I recommend you to read up on these regulations yourself so you know exactly what's going on. But these are the key considerations that all of these have. Obviously, different region, different laws. All right, with this in mind, let's just move on to the next one. This is a very quick video. I'm just going to show you exactly what tools you should be using for all certain types of messaging. There's really only the 3 types currently that's viable. All right, so effective messaging requires the right infrastructure. So below are the best tools for each type of outreach. So there's mass SMS messaging. For this, we recommend Textla. That's an ideal large-scale SMS campaign. Enables you to send automated messages with tracking. All right, I'm going to show you a quick preview of how Textla looks like and how you can utilize it and use it on your own way. All right, so when you sign up for Textla, currently we don't have any partnerships or promotions with them because we're negotiating the best deals. But by the time you should be watching this video, if you go to the software section on our Discord channel, or if you just go to WAP and just see the discounts, the affiliate discounts we have, you should be able to receive some sort of free credits when you sign up. If you sign up with them for now, you're going to get 1,000 credits. 1,000 credits equals to 1,000 SMS messages. You can send out 1,000 messages absolutely for free. You also get a free phone number for a week, so you can try everything out. All right, so how it looks is you get a number, which takes about 24 hours to set up. You can set up an onboarding call with them and get you 1,000 credits. And I do believe you start off with 100 by default. And also, if you ask their support, they generally give you a little bit more. If you want like a longer trial as well, you can mention us by the time this comes out. So you're going to get a little bit more. All right, you can invite your team and set up a campaign. So very simple. All this is you just create a campaign. First of all, you need to add your lead list. So just add your leads list. You can add single contact or just import contacts. So you can do new and existing contact or just add new contacts, right? You can download the templates. It's just like any other template. You need a first name, last name, phone number, and if you need any tags. So this is how it should look. So Textla, help, phone number, and any tags you want. And once you added it, you should have all your contacts right here. You can add keywords to them or you cannot. So really, next is just creating a campaign. So you just have to come here, campaign. You can name this whatever you want. I just named it here, test. Select one of the numbers. And what you need to do is just put your outreach message here. Just make sure it is under 153 characters because that is considered one segment. And one segment is one credit. 2 segments is 2 credits. So as you can see, we have already gone over this, and it shows up as 2 segments. So you're going to be charged for 2 credits. So make sure it's just 1. Sometimes if you want to do longer, that's fine. Just be sure to account for the extra credit usage. So you can finally select the audience. So you can select everyone, or you can filter for specific tags. You can do frequency one time or recurring. I just recommend you to do one time. Or if you want to schedule like a campaign, you can do it here. How you can schedule like follow-ups is very simple. You need to create multiple campaigns. So for example, I want to send the first SMS, outbound messages, is you do that on Monday 1 p.m. and then you could create a new campaign which you're going to do on Wednesday 2 p.m. right? So same contacts. Only problem with this is if somebody replies within that time period, you're gonna still send out to those people. So how you could do it is, you wait by the time the replies come in, and then you can remove those people, or you just send one time. That's what I recommend. You're gonna get immediate results. You could do send immediately, or again, just a custom date. So another thing you can do is you can add variables. Right now, there's only 2 variables you can add. So first name and last name. First name, I recommend you to do. That's very useful. So you could add it like first name or fallback value. So let me show you what it does, right? So if first name is not found, it's going to come back to this. It's going to say friend or whatever you want to put inside of here. Also, that's not required. So you could just do like first name. All right. So once that's done, you can just click send message and you're going to get like a whole bunch of replies. Another thing is, make sure you upload the leads list correctly, because with this account that we tested, I messed it up and the accounts got jumbled up. So phone numbers and names are not correct. Make sure you upload the leads list correctly and double check before sending out. And ideally, out of 1,000 SMS, you should get like no problem, like 50 replies. So that's quite good. And by the way, another thing is 1,000 SMS credits cost $5. It's pretty much nothing. So you're paying basically 10 cents per reply, right? So that's really good. You can also track the analytics if the messages went out, if they had any errors. You can also track the errors, right? So what happened here? It's a landline or unreachable. In this case, we didn't clean the list, so we wanted to see how good the software is. It is very affordable as well, and you could use Cinch, Twilio, but those are like way more technically oriented. There's more for developers, and also Textla is just easier to get started with. All right, so next up we have WhatsApp. For WhatsApp, we recommend you to use Lancepilot, and you could use any of these. Yobi, I do believe it's a private one, so you have to sign up for it. ManyChat is not primarily focused on it, but Lancepilot is something that is strictly just for WhatsApp use. We do have a coupon code with them as well, so if you want to sign up, pricing is quite affordable as well. So if you're watching this video, you'll be able to get a lifetime deal with them for $60. With that, you can send out 10,000 SMS messages through their platform for free. The only thing you need to pay for, and make sure you calculate this in, is the fee that, Meta charges on top of it, right? So if you want to send out 1,000, it's going to cost quite a lot more than if you were to do SMS, if you are labeled as marketing. Well, there are some certain ways you can market it as utility or authentication, but you might get your number banned. So be careful with that. But this is the best platform you can use for WhatsApp. Then we have finally manual messaging. You could use iMessage, that's okay. Or there is a Reach app. Basically, there's a whole bunch of apps where you could just schedule messages on WhatsApp. So if you don't have like a US number, you could rent one through one of these applications for a couple dollars a month, and you can manually message people. The reason manual messaging is great is because if you have an iPhone, what it does is you can do iMessage messages. So what that is the blue bubble. So it's more likely going to go through. You're not going to have any problems with it. So people are going to see it and more likely trust it. So that's it. That's all about the messaging infrastructure. These are really all the tools you need. So Textla, Lancepilot, and iMessage, or just use like a Reach app if you don't have a US number. All right, I want to welcome you back to the social media section. We're going to talk today about social media strategies, whether or not if it's even worth it and you should consider using them in your outbound arsenal. I've heard many people say it is working, many people say it's not working. I'm here to tell you exactly what's going on and settle this debate once and for all. So, does it actually work? Long story short, it does, but you want to make sure 2 things, right? So the people you're targeting is active on these platforms and that you can actually reach out to them, right? So I'll show you exactly what I mean. The social media outreach, again, is just a very powerful strategy for engaging potential clients, building relationships, and just generating leads. Again, when done correctly, it provides high engagement, improves brand visibility, and creates consistent pipeline for those healthy opportunities. So you want to make sure that the people you want to target are active in the first place, right? So if you're selling to, like we are in corporate, we're selling to AgTech companies, they're not going to be on Instagram. But if you're helping people with their web design, they're most likely going to be on Instagram, right? So also another thing you could do is way more advanced, right? But like, for example, even people who are in the ag tech space, who are, you know, very old-fashioned minded, they still sometimes have social media. And for example, if that might be an Instagram, nobody in the world is reaching out to them. So if you reach out to their personal Instagram, you're going to have like a really easy shot at them. If you think your niche is competitive, if it's not worth it for your niche, because you might think, hey, my ICP is not active, you still might find their personal social media. So that's always worth. All right, so you want to make sure, again, you have access to these people in the first place. And it is generally going to remove all the gatekeepers. So even Fortune 500 company CEOs, they have small social media and they don't really have gatekeepers. So you can try your luck there as well if you're doing like enterprise. It is very scalable, right? So automation tools just streamline the whole process, like Instagram, LinkedIn, X. So easy to automate the whole process. It is just great. Multi-touch points. So very easy to send follow-ups within these automation tools as well. So that's a big plus that you should consider. Finally, just some platform specific strategy. We're going to touch on these later on as well. So what works? Obviously, LinkedIn is different to X. X is different to Instagram. On X, you can send 450 messages per day. On LinkedIn, you can only send 30 connection requests per day, which really equates to like 13, 14 messages per day. But yeah, I mean, if you compare LinkedIn to X, generally LinkedIn has like 15% reply rate from my experience. X has like a 1 to 3%, right? So it is much more high quality. Just some best practices for effective outreach. Utilize personalization if you can, which you should be able to using these tools. I'll be sharing these shortly in the upcoming section. Utilize again the automation tools just to scale as well as personalize. So it's very important to use automation tools. One, for the reason that you can send a lot of messages. Another thing is that you can keep a track of these messages as well as personalize them. So if you're not doing that, you can still try to do like manually with just a few accounts. Follow platform specific rules. We're going to talk about this. So again, some platforms are more strict than others. On some, you need to watch out for specific things that you might not want to watch out for on other platforms. So it's all very different. All has their fair share of trouble as well as sunshine. So we want to make sure you keep track of all the rules, which I'll show exactly in the following section. So don't worry. Finally, track your performance. It's always a must to track everything. Otherwise, you're not going to see, for example, if you're running all 4 social medias that I recommend, which is X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you can consider these. You will not have the best or the same amount of opportunities for all of them. So for example, X might work like really good for you, and 1 month you're getting like 200 good replies, but LinkedIn is only like 50. So what you want to scale is X. If you double that, you're gonna get 400 replies. So it's much more worth it to do that than to scale LinkedIn, right? So you want to make sure you track the numbers so you can know exactly what's going on. With that in mind, on to the next section. Welcome. I'm going to talk to you today about the platform-specific algorithms, so you have a better understanding as which platform is looking out for what exactly, so you can have the best way to promote your messages and make sure that you land in the inbox and not just like the promo filter or whatever else might be the case, or even get limited, right? So I'm going to show you exactly what the algorithms are and what you should be looking out for. So again, just each social media has different things you should need to look out for, different methodology, different algorithm, different like statistics. Like for example, if we dive into LinkedIn has an SSI score. So that means social selling index. And if you can boost that up, it's going to get you a much higher lead visibility. Before we talk about that, let's just talk about the engagement driven nature of LinkedIn, right? So LinkedIn just generally prioritizes content with high interactions, likes, comments, shares, you name it, over anything else. What LinkedIn does, it's relevance based as connection based as well. So your posts are going to be sent first to your connection basis, right? Your first degree connections get priority. It's the same thing with posts as well as messages, as opposed to, you know, new connections, right? So if you're already reaching out to your existing audience, you're going to have a much easier time just, you know, staying on top of the inbox and not going to like promo or having any type of issues your message is not going through. So you want to make sure you keep in mind. So if you take away something from LinkedIn, is that you need to build a larger audience so you can send to more people, right? If you already have a good audience, start with that and then, you know, try to look for people outside of the audience. Okay, Instagram, what to keep in mind. very similar, but again, we're just going to be doing DMs. So what you should be looking out for is, you can take a look at the rest of the stuff here, but I'm just going to prioritize, right? Because we mainly want to do DMs. I'm not going to focus on the inbound section of this because that's a totally different module. We'll talk about that later. But DMs from mutual followers or active contacts are prioritized in primary inboxes. So for example, if you want to target the followers of Alex Hormozy, it's best to also follow Alex Hormozy and some of the people that he's following, which his followers are most likely going to follow as well. So that means Instagram notices that, hey, there's some mutual activity, mutual contact. Thus, your message is not going to go to promo, but the inbox, which you should want ultimately. All right, you could do, you know, hashtag optimization, but this is really more for the inbound. So again, I'm just going to focus on what's relevant for the outbound section of this video. Okay, for Twitter is very similar, so you could do the same thing. If you follow mutual active contacts, those are going to be prioritized in the inboxes as opposed to somebody who you don't know, they don't know, right? So you want to make sure you have like mutual connections. That's going to boost. Also, DMs are more visible when there is a previous interaction with the prospect, right? Like likes, follows, etc. So if you follow someone before you send them a message on X, ultimately it's going to do a lot better. All right, on to Facebook. Similar stuff, right, to Instagram, except followers and connections have friends, community. So if you're in the same community, same group, you're going to be prioritized over somebody else. So really, this is all that matters. Otherwise, messages from non-friends, they always go to message requests tab. If you're not a friend with someone, it's going to go there. So this is really what you need to keep in mind, as well as if you want to like verify your account, the same thing with Instagram. I didn't want to put it twice. It's going to do a little bit better, if nothing else, right? Like it may be just like a placebo effect that people see that you have a check mark and okay, I might hear out what this person is saying a little bit more because he's verified. So it's always worth doing if you want to just squeeze a little bit more out of the campaigns. But another option is, let's say 10 accounts, instead of verifying all of them, which is going to cost probably more than getting in like another 10 accounts, right? So you should do more volume instead. That's what I'd recommend. All right, threads. Well, threads, we don't really go into the specifics because it's not that relevant, but threads is basically Instagram's version of X. So again, if you're connected, you're going to be prioritized as well. You can read up on the rest of the stuff, but again, at this point, it's not relevant. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of it because it might be useful, even if you're reading this now and not starting the inbound section. But what you want to focus on again is just what's affecting your DM performance overall. But key takeaways from this lesson is just increase engagement first. So warm up your accounts by liking, commenting, posting, or just following the people who you want to reach out to. Obviously, in some cases, it's pretty much essential. Like LinkedIn, you have to connect with them. That's like, you know, the version of a friends list in LinkedIn before you can send them a message. Well, you know, sort of there's like this thing called in messages, LinkedIn messages, whatever, which just allows you to skip the queue and just send them a message, but that costs money. It's usually not worth it. If you want to do like automation and scale, you could try it out for prospects that you like really want to reach, but that's outside of scope of this video. Okay, so personalized messaging always wins. This is just some tips. Use verified accounts and aged accounts. You're going to have a much better time and are less likely to face restrictions, but we're going to talk about restrictions later on. Follow platform specific rules. Each platform again has different outreach thresholds as well as, you know, ban limits. We're going to talk about that as well. This lesson was just about the algorithms, so you have a better understanding as what's going on, but it's always nice to keep these in mind and just, you know, diversify your content and messaging. It's always essential to test your messaging before you scale it up. So by now you should have a good understanding of each of the algorithms that you need to pay attention to when you're doing cold outreach. Again, you can read up on the rest of them, but they're not as focused on the scope of the video. They're more for inbound and if you want to build your audience that way. But I recommend keeping your main account for inbound, and when you're doing DM automations, then you just really care about like, okay, I'm buying an aged account and setting him up, warming it up. We're going to talk about that as well, don't worry. And then making sure that everything is just optimized. And you know what you should keep in mind, again, if you just take away one thing from this video, is all of the platforms prioritized if you have a connection, a friend request, a follow, like, or prior engagement. So really that's the whole takeaway from this video. Now we're going to move on to the platform limits, the automations, and everything else in between that you should watch out for. All right, see you there. All right, welcome back everyone. Quickly, I'm going to show you what you should look out for when you are creating a new account, or if you have an existing account and you want to do DM automations with. I'm going to show you exactly the tips I'd recommend you to take when setting up an account. So let's go. All right, so we have all the automation platforms that you should be utilizing is X, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. If you want to get just straight into the documents itself, I have a guide on each of them. I'm going to show you an example as well on screen so you can see, have a better idea. Generally, I mean, most of that is kind of true for all of them. So generally you want like a professional page, strong cover, business details, but you know, some platforms are a little bit more professional like LinkedIn, Facebook, and some are less formal, right? And on some, you cannot do the exact same things you can with the others. Like Instagram, you cannot do banners. So I'm going to get into that shortly. Starting out with X, you need to write a concise bio with relevant keywords in the call to action. So something like DM me X for, you know, resource, something like. I'm going to show you an example. Pin a high value tweet. You can only pin one tweet at the moment that establishes credibility. Use a mix of tweets, retweets, replies to maintain active presence. Leverage trending hashtags and engagement-driven content. I'm going to show you exactly how this looks. Few key takeaways. This is like the profile that I have set up. You could put your YouTube channel, you could put whatever, and as you can see, I have a great tweet pinned at the top. So again, just what I've already talked about. Make sure it's clearly stating what you do, who you help, how to contact you. As for the profile picture banner, you don't need to do a professional headshot because Twitter is sort of the platform where, you know, you could use something else. It doesn't really matter. Make sure it's you. Make sure they can see your face though. All right. As for pinned tweet, feature an engaging tweet that provides value or promotes your offer, right? And finally, if you want to do these, that's an added benefit as well. So engagement strategy is just to regularly post valuable insights and interact with relevant tweets and using trends as well as hashtags. You might be saying, hey, that's more inbound. Yeah, sure. But the thing is, if you're doing outbound and DMing people, they are still going to check out what the hell you're posting. And if they see, you know, you're active, you're posting good content, they're going to like it and you're more likely to get a deal going, right? So that's the goal. Okay, we have LinkedIn. Use a professional profile picture and a compelling headline. You need to write a summary that highlights expertise and value proposition. Add a featured content like case studies, testimonial articles. Optimize the experience and skills section for relevant keywords. So I'm going to show exactly how a LinkedIn profile should look. To have a professional headline, again, something like this. You can see the example on screen. Banner, use some high quality branding or just like something relevant to the industry. If it's too branded, people are gonna see it as salesy. Generally, the reason I don't recommend putting like something like you do on the other platforms is because ultimately the goal is to have connections with people, and if they see that, you know, you're obviously selling them something, they're not going to accept the connection request. All right, summary. So you need to have a summary as well as skills. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So I'm going to come to my profile. Obviously we tweaked it a little bit, but what you can do, very easy, is just have something like an about section like we have here. Clearly state what you do, why you do it, etc. Make sure you have experience stated as well. You can put skills as well, not really necessary, but it's good to have because people sometimes check it out. And you know, overall, this is generally how it should look like. Nothing too complex. You can take a look at mine as an example always. All right, on to the next one, which is Instagram. Make sure you switch to business profile so you can see the active analytics and you can see how many people are liking, how many people are viewing your profile. Craft a bio that clearly states what you do and includes a call to action. Use a link in bio tool to direct prospects to key resources. Post engaging content that showcases result and industry insight. You could do that inside Reels, or just if you want, you could do just some lifestyle posts like as you can see I have here on this account. Easy peasy, people are gonna see, okay, it's cool, this guy is an actual human. Doesn't have to be super fancy because, you know, the goal is to have like a whole bunch of these profiles and automate the process. So very simple, just have a profile picture, at least 6 posts, have a clear call to action, showcase case studies if you want inside the bubbles. Generally, that's a good idea, but it depends how much effort you want to put into creating these accounts. You could do more accounts and you could also do like more quality accounts. I recommend you to do both. Again, here's the example of how it should look. Okay. Finally, Facebook. Optimize it for your professional page, similar to Instagram, with a strong cover photo, business details. Ensure Messenger is enabled for direct outreach so people can message you. Join relevant Facebook groups. So, if someone is in that group that you're messaging, they're going to see that, hey, that guy is also in the group. So again, this is generally how it should look. You should have a few posts that are related. You should have founder, owner, whatever. You could put your school, you could put where you are, you could showcase your followers, you could showcase the website. And again, I recommend you to just put a bio, background, and a profile picture. Very similar to all the others. Of course, each of them has their nuances. I think LinkedIn is the most different. If you can nail that, the rest is pretty much the same as the others. All right, with that in mind, I'm going to show you exactly what you should look out for in terms of limits as well as limitations. I'll see you in the next one. All right, so final video is just going to be about platform limits for the infrastructure setup. Let's get into it. We briefly talked about this, but every social media platform requires specific limits on outreach activities to prevent spam and maintain user experience. So exceeding these limits going to get your account banned, shadow banned, or permanently suspended. Staying within these is going to make sure that you stay okay. So Instagram limits, daily limits is 25 to 50 messages. Don't go anything above 50. This is what I recommend you to do, is stay between this sweet spot. All right, so follow limit is 200 per day. Like limit is 1,000 a day. Comment limit is about 200 comments a day. Posting frequency, do 1 to 3 posts at max. On age, new accounts must warm up for 2 to 3 weeks. Verification benefit, blue badge verified accounts have higher limits, better trust scores. If you are running a lot of accounts, I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather just get more accounts than buy verification. Best practices, avoid sending identical messages to multiple users. Engage with posts before messaging. All right, so basically just keep in mind the warm up, buy aged accounts, and keep these daily limits. LinkedIn connection request is 200 per week. I showed you how to reach this because usually it's just 100. You can use automation tools to reach it. DM per day should be about 20 to 50 per day. You can only send to connected accounts. Email limits is about 10 to 50 per month for free users. For premium, it's higher. Follow limit is about 200 per day. Engagement limit like 1,000 likes per comments per day. So best practices is just personalize outreach messages and engage with content before messaging, and avoid using aggressive automations because LinkedIn is quite strict. I've shown you how to stay safe with LinkedIn inside the automation section. So if you need more help, just revisit that section. All right, so Facebook limits. So friend request is 20, 30 per day is okay. 50 messages per day is okay. Split it into, 2 parts, morning and evening, if it's possible. Group posting, 10 groups a day is absolutely fine. Comment limit 150 comments is absolutely fine. Just stay within these. Again, just buy a aged account, warm them up, and follow these and you should be fine. For X, it's about 450 per day per account. Follow limit is about 400. Like limit is about 1,000. Tweet limit is 2,400. Best practice is use a mix of retweets, likes, comments before starting DMs. Again, buy a aged account and then start gradually warming up, just like I've shown you. Finally, Meta, there's no official limit. Posting 10 per day should be fine. Engagement 500 comments should be fine. Best practice is avoid aggressive outreach, maintaining balance. So it's similar to Facebook, although there's no official limits for, messages. Don't do anything above 100 though. It's not a good platform to do outreach. I just put here for the sake of limits if you're trying to do it. All right, make sure you keep these compliance considerations in mind. So GDPR, TCPA, message personalization, avoid copy pasting message because you're going to get into restrictions. Use proxies and VPNs. If you're using these automation tools that I've shown you, you don't need to. You only need to use these proxies and VPNs when you're setting up the accounts. Warm up the accounts with warm-up strategies. Again, gradually increase sending and engagement through like 2 to 3 weeks for new accounts. And avoid spam flags. So use engagement likes before starting out with direct messages. So that all lays back to warm up. All right, so staying within platform limits while optimizing outreach efforts ensures that your account is not going to get banned. It will have longevity, higher response rates, and successful social media prospecting. So always monitor engagement analytics and adjust accordingly. So this was all about the limits. We have gone through the infrastructure and we're going to go into lead list building and outreach system. So see you in there. All right, welcome. We're going to talk about DMs that actually get responses. You've probably been waiting for this for quite a long time. Finally, here we go. We're going to talk about the frameworks, the scripts that you should be using when you're doing outreach on social media. So let's just go. I'm going to show you exactly what you need to keep in mind, what's important, and what you can glance over. Okay, so sending direct messages, or other words, DMs, is a great and probably one of the most effective ways to engage with potential prospects and clients in 2025 and not be ignored. To maximize responses, your DMs must be concise, personalized, and action-oriented. Okay, so why most cold DMs fail? It all boils down to this, right? So if you can master this, if you can just understand what I'm about to show you in these 2 sentences, you'll do great. So most cold DMs fail simply because they're too long, too generic, or too pushy. A great cold DM is short, specific, and focused on the recipient's needs, not yours. So again, most fail because too long, too generic, too pushy. You have to be specific, and you have to make them your priority and not the other way around, right? So they need to feel that the message is focused on them and not you, right? Here's a formula to get high response rate. So in your strong opening line, skip the intros, start with the insight about them. Why should they care? Have a clear value proposition lined up. Have a soft call to action, make it easy for them to reply. Just say, would it make sense to chat about this next week? That's a little bit too pushy. Instead, what you could do is, can I share this quick, insert lead magnet here, right? Key principles to keep in mind, and you're going to do great. And then I'm going to show you the frameworks. Personalization wins. So use the first name of the recipient, maybe the company if that's relevant, but generally just make sure you use the first name. Sometimes, in some cases, it's not worth it. We can talk about that more in the advanced strategies section of social media outreach. But basically, it's like this. On Instagram, most people don't have their first names. They have some nicknames, so it can come off as weird. So you should put like, hey man, XYZ, then you do with the messaging. But with most platforms, X, LinkedIn, you could easily get their names, right? So there, I recommend you to do it. That's like the basic. Mention a specific pain point and opportunity. So minimum do this, right? So make sure you mention their name if it's possible, and make sure that you bring up a specific pain point within the message that they're facing, all right? And then you explain exactly, quick and short, how are you going to help it? 30 words or less. Break up the text into shorter sequences that are easier to read, easier to digest. Want to make sure it's scannable, right? So make subject line irresistible. So you could put something like, instead of, hey, quick question, first name, quick idea or company, and then you can get into it, right? So you could do a great intro like this, like first name, quick idea. Obviously, if you could do, the first name as well as the company name. Subject lines could be named as intros in some cases. On LinkedIn, you could do subject lines if you're doing emails, or if you're just doing like regular mails. That's fine as well. But, same theory can be applied for if you're just doing this as an intro to your message. So that's absolutely fine. Focus on them, again, not you. Nobody cares about your background, so get straight into how you can help them. An example of this would be, saw that company is scaling fast, figure this might be useful, right? One clear call to action. Okay, so example, would love to share some quick 5-minute idea. Are you open to chat? Avoid vague call to actions like, let me know your thoughts, right? You want to make sure you're directing their attention to something that you ultimately want them to convert into. For example, a VSL, which might lead them to a booking page where they book a call with you, they get on the discovery call, and finally you just close them, right? So that's the ultimate goal. You don't want to, have like some certain steps unsure, just like going this direction, this direction, this direction. You're never gonna get here, right? So you need to follow a strict guide on what's next steps. You want to make sure they're directed. Like, they could watch the best VSL out there, but if there's like no call to action at the end that, hey man, book a call, or like no button to call, or just you don't say it, they're not going to book a call. So make sure you have something going on. Frameworks that actually get replies. Well, here are some evergreen frameworks that we tested and performed best over the years. You can simply plug and play with this, with your own offer, your positioning. I want to make sure, just I give you this disclaimer before I jump into it, that these are frameworks. They're not scripts, right? So you can take them, but they're not going to work just out of the gate. You have to input your own offer, your own script. So make sure you tweak it, right? So here are 10 different examples for 2 of the strategies we are running on social media. One strategy is just the direct marketing. So that's basically you sending text and then a prospect replies. So that's pretty much like the generic approach most people take. And then we have the Trojan horse based permission opener. So what that means is, it's not a text, it's a video that you record, right? It's much more powerful if you want to go with this route. Not as scalable, because if you want to do it like this, if you want to have their first name included, it is going to take a lot more effort to do. Or you could like combine best of both worlds. If you even want to do it, we talk about that in the AI automation section. Second strategy could be with this, is you record like one really good take, and then you can multiply that infinitely by using platforms which basically clone your words, and based on the lead list you can have any type of variables like first name. Like for example, in one video I could say, hey Michael, how's it going, man, right? And then the other one, it could be, hey John. Like whatever it is in the lead list, the video is going to be generated for that specific prospect. Again, that's a little bit more advanced. We're going to talk about that in the AI automation section of this program. All right, here are some examples. I'm not going to get too in-depth into them. If you want to check up on them yourself, here you go. And by the way, if you contact us like, hey Sabo, hey Levi, we need some help with a script, I'm just going to come here. I'm just going to pick one and write one for you. So it's nothing like, you know, a secret or magic key. This is what we use. This is what works. If you need help, just come here and plug and play with your offer, and then you should be good to go. All right, what you need to do is always like test and test and test which one works best, and then iterate over time. All right, best practices, again, just keep it short, 2 to 3 sentences, personalize. You know, if with anything, just do at least the pain points as well as the first name if it's possible. Use open-ended questions. You want to have a engaging response rather than just simply a yes or no. Avoid spammy language. Make sure you have like a clear call to action as well, and make sure you follow up, because people might not have seen the first message, right? So you want to follow up with them 1 to 2 times at least. We have gone into that detail in the Outbound Conversion system, so if you have not watched that video, just make sure you go back and see it for yourself. We break down all the follow-up systems we have, so make sure you implement this as well in the social media section too. Okay, with that in mind, this is it. Let's just go on to the next one. I'll see you there. All right, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how you can hire appointment setters. This guide is going to be basically reflectant on any other VA that you might need to hire, whether or not it's a lead scraper, an appointment setter, a campaign manager, what else. But we have certain guys based on that go into more details. But if you're just watching this video solely, this is going to give you an idea how to hire them as well. It's really all about like the specifics that each type of role is good for. So I'm going to talk about specifically today about appointment setter, which should be like the most crucial role that you should be hiring first originally. Okay, so hiring an appointment setter is crucial for any business that relies on scheduling calls, meetings to close deals, which should be you if you're watching this video. A great setter ensures that your pipeline stays full by qualifying leads and setting high quality appointments. All right, so this document outlines the process of finding, hiring, training appointment setters efficiently. I'm going to give you everything you need, all the scripts, the onboarding form, you name it. It's going to be linked in this document here. All right, so before we get into it, I want you to keep these 3 thoughts on top of your head. If you are too busy with sales calls or service delivery, if your lead generation is slow due to lack of time, if you want to scale your outbound and inbound process efficiently, or any of the combination of these, make sure you go hire someone for this job, because ultimately paying like $300, $400, $500 a month is going to like exponentially make a return for you at that point, because this just takes so much time. It's super easy to just outsource to someone and they're gonna do just as well as you, but make sure you understand the process yourself before you go and outsource it to somebody else. Okay, so what to look for in a quality appointment setter. So make sure they are consistent, the ability to follow instructions daily and execute repetitive tasks. They're going to be checking emails, they're going to be checking DMs every single day. They're going to be sending follow-ups, so make sure that this is dialed in and they're good for the job. Make sure they have charisma, communication skills, some strong interpersonal skills to engage with the prospects themselves. That's key. You need to have fluent English, so preferably native speakers or near native proficiency is absolutely required. Proven track record, so experience in setting appointments or sales roles, so make sure that is ticked as well. Ability to handle rejections, confidence in overcoming objections and maintaining enthusiasm, because they're going to most likely face a lot of those, right? You don't want them to get discouraged and thus, not come to work the next day. They can work full time, it's figurative, but you want to make sure that they're working every single day consistently. All right, if you can have all of these, then you have a killer appointment setter who's going to do great for you. Okay, where to find these people, right? So option one, it's your personal network. Look for candidates within your network. Friends, family, colleagues might know individuals who are young, charismatic, and eager to earn money. This is something you can teach anyone. This is very, very easy. If they have these character traits, you can train any of them, right? Very easy. Option two, social media or job board. So this is most likely where you're going to find these people. Facebook groups like appointment setters, SMMA, make money online, quit 9 to 5, etc. LinkedIn, this is more of a last resort. If you have a LinkedIn company, you can post one free job, I think, per month and get up to like 100 applicants. Freelance platforms like onlinejobs.ph, Upwork, Fiverr. I'm going to show you just one example. So this is just onlinejobs.ph. As you can see, we have posted an appointment setter role. That was in 2024. We got 157 applicants. And out of those, we hired quite a few. So make sure that you use one of these platforms. I'm going to show you exactly what to do in the hiring process right now. So just make sure you pick one of these platforms, or you could do a combination of the two. You can ask first your network and just pick one or two of these. Ultimately, if you want to, you just do all of them to have the most candidates. All right, but what you need to do is just once you have selected your platform or platforms, is just post in these groups the following information. Just have a example job post. I'm going to show you exactly what we did. If you want to pause the video and see for yourself, very simple. I really did not do anything crazy here. I'm going to show you exactly what we do in for cold callers. It's a little bit more complex, but as you can see, very simple. You don't need to pay like anything crazy. Just make sure you put like, hey, we're hiring for appointment setters. This opportunity potentially can earn you thousands remotely while working for a few hours a day. Now, if you have strong communication skills, ready to work hard. And obviously, this is just an intro. Go into more specific of what you're looking for, like for example, key responsibilities, etc., etc., etc. Right? So we're looking for reliable appointment setter to join our XYZ, your main job to manage clients' inboxes, respond to leads quickly, follow up with people. All right, so I actually just pasted this description for you so you can just copy it for yourself. We use this, nothing complex. It's just straight to the point. It gets the job done, right? Very simple. Just make sure you put like an overview, what the job is, key responsibilities, qualification, but consistent, discipline, and a short video just introducing themselves. They don't need to put anything else. This is just sufficient. By this, you should be able to gauge their skill level, you know, if they worked in this field or not, if, you know, they can prove that they're consistent and have discipline as well. If they cannot like follow that, hey, put a 30-second video in for me as an intro. If it's like 4 minutes, just instantly disqualify them. So I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. This is, again, the very same questions, nothing new here. Just copy these and make yourself an appointment setter form as a Google form. Very simple. I unfortunately could not like provide the actual like a copy pastable document like with this, but you should get the point. Very simple. And just put these. If you like want to include more info, like we did, like record a 30-second selfie video, link it below, that's fine. But again, just short video introducing themselves is absolutely fine. Step 3 is select the top candidates. So once you have at least like 20 or so applicants, it's generally best to have more. You want to have at least 10, but ideally more is better. Then you need to conduct a short interview, so that's 10 to 15 minutes via Zoom or Google Meets, and ask these 4 questions. What is your experience with appointment setting? They most likely already answered, but you should ask them yourself. How do you handle objections from potential leads? What motivates you to succeed in this role? Set number of meetings to prove themselves, right? I generally don't recommend to hire them right out of the gate. You should have or you could do a paid or free trial, whatever suits you, and then you can get to hiring them. Finally, training and onboarding. Once hired, new setters should be onboarded properly, provide a clear script, give them all the outreach scripts, so make sure that they understand, okay, what's the message that I'm replying to. Make sure that they have the reply frameworks as well as the follow-up frameworks at hand. They have access to the CRM, teach them how to handle objections, how to use AI to help craft web messages. Set KPIs. So if you need 5 book calls a day, if you're like doing the same thing before, an appointment setter was getting 5 calls a day, or if you were doing it, you're getting 5 calls a day and you hired someone new, they should ideally be aiming for that amount as well. All right. You can also conduct mock calls or like mock emails or whatever else you need to do to train them as well. but generally it's just best to use live examples, because that's really what matters. Closing thoughts, so how much you should pay, how you should monitor them, and the next steps. Okay, payment structure. So basically there's really 4 ways you can take it. You can do a earn percentage of closed deals. They're not going to go with this. This is not good for you, not good for them. The reason is because they're not going to be motivated to do this job, and generally the people that work these jobs, they really need a base pay, right? Another thing you could do is pay per appointment, like $10 to $30 per booked appointment. It's okay. People work on this, but not as motivated. I tend to find that base pay works best. You could do base pay like $300-400 a month. That's generally sufficient. If they're managing a lot of replies as well as a lot of follow-ups, you might need to pay them more. Or you could do a hybrid model, like a base pay as well as commission per appointment, or commission based per closed deal. You could like tweak around this. I recommend just do base pay and have some sort of incentive going. Okay, performance monitoring. So track the number of calls made and appointments booked. Use dashboards or Google Sheets to log daily activities to improve the performance. Just make sure like every single day that they're reporting to in some channel that LinkedIn 2 booked calls, right? Email 0 book, right? So you get the point. You want to track like daily what they're doing. Final thoughts. A high quality setter can significantly improve your lead conversion rate and help you scale your business efficiently. So make sure you hire someone fit for the job. Some next steps. All right, so make sure you post the job listing on all these relevant platforms, start screening, and then, picking your candidates, starting that trial, and then onboard them and train them for the maximum success. If you need a hiring form example, here it is. Very simple. And by the way, I also linked here below hiring form example. This is exactly what I've shown you above. You could just copy and paste these answers and create a hiring form for yourself. But with this in mind, you should have everything and all the knowledge on how to hire properly an appointment setter, when you should do it, how much you should pay them. If anything's unclear, make sure you rewatch parts of this video or just message us in the community and we'd be happy to help. All right, see you in the next one. All right, welcome inside the key pillars of service delivery. I'm going to explain what the pillars are and what you should look out for. So let's just get straight into this. So here's the 4 pillars. There's really only 4 pillars. This is just more a fundamental guide for you to keep in mind in terms of what you should be striving for when you're doing service delivery. So the 4 pillars are quality, consistency, communication, and scalability. We briefly touched on this in the previous section, but I'm going to go deeper and explain exactly why these are important. So quality definition is the ability to deliver services that meet or extend the client expectations. So make sure you over deliver, or at least just meet expectations. Best practices for this: establish clear service standards and benchmark, implement quality assurance processes, make sure you follow KPIs, use client feedback, regularly update methodologies and strategies to stay competitive. You want to make sure everything's up to date. You don't want to use outdated systems. So consistency, ensure that your service delivery is practical and uniform across all client engagements. So you don't want to, for example, when you are doing like multiple niches at the same time, if you're helping gym owners, if you're helping dietitians, if you're helping med spas, if you're in that like Facebook ads type of SMMA type niche, it is going to be ultimately more difficult because like the SOPs you have, you need multiple of, right? So you need one for med spas, you need one for gyms, etc. And operational drag and complexity is just going to go through the roof. Thus, if you sign a new client, it's just going to make it ultimately harder to understand the solution. Sure, you could create like a whole bunch of SOPs, but that's just going to make everything just a little bit more difficult and ultimately not as scalable. So make sure you stick to one niche and just have like one SOP and one operation. Train staff and service providers for best practices. Automate repetitive tasks. We talked about this. Conduct regular audits to perform evaluations. So this is where, feedback loops come into play. So make sure you take action, check the results, optimize and repeat. Action, result, optimize and repeat. So this is the feedback loop you should be taking. Communication, it's very important. Maintaining clear, transparent, and proactive communication with clients is just essential. For the reason is because if they don't know what you're doing, they're most likely gonna think that you're doing nothing. If you don't update them with any updates, they're gonna think you're doing nothing. So very simply what you could do is you could set up automations on make.com. If you're running cold emails for them, for example, you could plug that into Smart Lead and instantly you could create webhooks and APIs. And, for each positive reply, it could send those replies into the Slack channel as like a sum up for each day. So, at the end of the day, you don't need to message them. They're going to see that, hey, we got this many replies, etc. That's pretty cool. So you should be thinking in terms of like this. Or if you want to just manually update them on the results, that's also fine when just starting out. But I'm just letting you know, there's automations you can create, which we're going to show you in more detail. So don't worry. So Set clear expectations from the start. Use structured communication, again, like Slack, Discord. Make sure you have some sort of platform where you communicate with the clients with. Don't just use email. Provide, again, regular updates. What we do inside Crop Pitch is generally, if it was a done for you client, what we did was at the end of each week, like on Saturdays, we send them a weekly report of all the campaigns, etc. And within the week itself, if there was any like outliers or new meetings in, it would automatically be sent to the client. So that's just pretty much it. No need to overdo it. Just make sure you send the important stuff and the information. As for scalability, this is the ability to expand your service capacity without sacrificing quality or efficiency. So this is what you should keep in mind. Best practices are to implement automation tools, which we talked about. Use flexible service delivery methods that can, be adjusted to increase demand. Invest in a team and the training. Develop and handle growth efficiently. Develop tiered service offerings to cater to different client needs. So I'm gonna go into more in depth on all of these, but what you should just keep in mind is quality, consistency, communication, and scalability. So make sure you're offering quality work, you're consistent with it. So that means you can repeat it. Communication is quite clear, and scalability just to make sure that what you're offering is actually scalable. All right, so for tools, again, we already talked about this. Just a reminder, if you have skipped the previous one. And best practices: document and refine your process regularly. This is what I mean by SOPs. Monitor and measure key performance indicators if that's applicable. Proactively adjust potential issues before and then after they meet the service quality. Encourage a culture of continuous improvement within the team. Stay aligned with the client needs, because every client ultimately is different. Just to sum up, a strong service delivery framework is built on these 4 key pillars: quality, consistency, communication, and scalability. So with that, that's pretty much it. I'm going to show you how to do client onboarding in the next section. I'm just going to see you right there. All right, welcome inside the foundation module of the service delivery. So let's just get started. So we're going to start off with understanding service delivery itself. So service delivery is the backbone of any business that provides solution to its clients. It encompasses all the processes, the frameworks, and iterations that ensure successful execution of services. So really, this is the backbone of any business, is the service you provide, because this is going to make sure that you can keep your clients long term. This is to make sure that they're going to be happy, they're going to give you referrals, and they're going to make you a lot more money in the long run. So it's much more selfish of you if you sign more clients just for the sake of signing them for the onboarding fee and whatever, than if you help them. Because if you're just looking at it through a selfish lens, it is easier to get more money of someone who has already paid you than to sign someone totally new. So you should focus on your existing clients. And if you're struggling with that, this guide is going to help you exactly with that. So effective service delivery is crucial for maintaining client satisfaction, just like I said, fostering long-term relationships and ensuring business growth. So you can make a lot more from your existing clients than signing new clients. Why does this matter? We already discussed this briefly, but again, it enhances satisfaction, meaning you're going to get referrals, it's going to drive retention, they're not going to churn on you. You can just rely on them consistently paying up if you deliver them results. So it is ensuring scalability. So you don't have to sign like 10 clients every single month to make that like 30, 50K a month. So you could have like 20 clients, say you charge them like $1,000, $2,000 a month, maybe on a retainer, maybe on performance, and then you can get realistically the same achievement. And which one's easier, right? Like delivering results or just signing new clients? I hope it's the first, right? So you have like a decent service. Core components of service delivery. Number 1, service offering and expectations. Define clear deliverables and scope to align with your client needs. So you make sure you establish realistic timelines and benchmarks. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into it, why it matters, and communicate service limitations and executions to prevent misunderstanding. So this is really all important. This is really just about like communications and expectations. Don't mislead the clients, right? Like don't say like, we're going to get you leads tomorrow, we're going to get you clients tomorrow. You sign them and then you say, okay, it takes 3 weeks to get everything set up. They're going to be like, you promised me 1 day. What the hell? They're going to charge you back. So don't do that. Make sure realistic expectations are aligned. Of course, if someone is on the fence, you could tell them like more crucial stuff after you have signed them, because at that point they're more committed. So if you want to go down that route, that's also fine, but just make sure you can actually deliver. 2, operational processing and workflows. So develop a step-by-step procedures to ensure consistently. We're going to walk through how to do it. So this is really all about the SOPs itself. Utilize automations. We discussed this. Implement quality assurance system to maintain a high standard. So make sure you have SOPs that your team or yourself can follow when you sign a new client. And if you can, which most likely you can, just make sure you automate it. We'll go in some examples. Of course, everyone has different service delivery, so we cannot cover everything, but we're going to give you some guides on how to do it yourself and how to do the most overlapping type of service delivery. With that in mind, make sure everything is up to standards so it's actually scalable. Let me move on to client attraction and communication. So within client interaction, it is very important to don't just use email. You could, but make sure you have like something like Slack or Discord, something like a group where you can manage all your clients in. So it just makes it way easier, because if like one client just prefers email, one client prefers SMS, another client prefers WhatsApp, right? You don't want to keep in touch with all of them in different platforms. You want to tell them that, hey, this is where we'll communicate. This is the only option you can reach me. It could be email if you prefer that. I don't recommend it. You could use Slack. That's what we use, or Discord. So either which works. Or you could use like ClickUp. There's a whole bunch of these platforms. You could choose the one you like. They're most likely free as well. Make sure you regularly update your client progresses and challenges and adjustments. Provide access to reporting performance. I'm going to show you exactly like how we do it in CropReach, so you can just get a better idea in the following section. So don't worry about it. This is just so you can understand what exactly is that you need to do at the moment. Right. So issue resolution and continuous improvement. Issues are going to arise. That's not the end of the world. The client is not going to care ultimately if something goes wrong, if you can fix it and if he or she sees that you're actively fixing it. So what really matters is that they see that you're putting in the work and delivering results. Even though you might not be delivering, up to expectations, if they see that you're trying to fix it, if something went wrong, they're most likely going to cut you slack. So don't worry about it. Don't try to hush if there's some problems. Just make sure you communicate clearly. They're going to appreciate the sincerity and the truthfulness. If not, they're most likely not a good client and you don't want to keep them long term either way. So make sure you keep this in mind. You need an established system for handling concerns and feedback. This is where, we go back to having a platform to communicate through is essential. We need to monitor KPIs. We're going to talk about more of that, and continuous refinement on processes. So KPIs really all depend on your services. So if you offer Facebook ads, that is going to be different. So you need to check like the ROAS, so how much you're spending on the ads. If you're a web design agency, it's a little bit more simple in that sense. There's no really KPIs. Maybe if you pull weekly targets, and if you don't hit that, then you're kind of behind. You get the point. And continuously refine the process, and that's it. So we move on to tools for efficiency. Some tools we already mentioned is ClickUp. This is where you can also communicate. This is sort of like a hybrid project management and communication collaboration tool. I sort of recommend it. It's quite decent. Can be quite complex though. Trello is very simple if you want to use it. Also, if you're already using Notion or something like VR, it is pretty much built into it. So if you want to stick with Notion, there's Trello is pretty much embedded into it. Trello is very simple. You can drag and drop cards and projects, and you can move for example, this is the onboarding stage. This is when you get the clients, the leads. This is where you start the campaign, and you have 4 clients, right? Then you move this guy to here. If that's pretty much it for that. Communication collaboration tools, we already talked about it. So you could use Slack, Discord. We could use Google Meet as well. If you just want to have weekly calls with them, that's also an option. CRM, I recommend you to use either one of these or just use Notion, the Notion CRM we gave you. But these are more encompassive. If you're just smaller, you can use Notion. That's fine. If you don't have 50 clients, you don't need anything crazy. You just use Notion. It's free. Automation, use these, Zapier, Notion, or make.com. It really all depends on the type of automation, but most likely you could do it with webhooks, APIs, and make.com is currently the recommendations. But Zapier is also good. Just to quickly sum up everything: set clear expectation, create SOPs, prioritize client communication, monitor and optimize performance, and be proactive with problem solving. So if you take anything away from this video, make sure it's these 5 commandments. Take these away, and these are very important. If you keep these core principles in mind, you should be good to go. So let's just go on to the key pillars of service delivery, where I'll give you some more foundational knowledge. Then we can move on to the exact things we are doing inside CropReach, so you can have a better understanding. I'm going to show you exactly how to start off and build your own system. So let's just hop in. All right, so welcome inside the client onboarding section of this module. I'm just going to show you exactly how to onboard clients, what you need to look out for, what to do, how to welcome them, etc. So why does it matter? Obviously, because first impressions are going to generally dictate how the client perceives the value that you give them. If everything's professional, if everything's all lined up, everything's in order, if you have all your ducks in order, they're going to be more than likely happier to start off working with you. If you don't have anything in order, everything's disorganized, you might even get a refund or chargeback from them within a week or two. So So that could happen. So make sure you have something going on. If you follow all these 6 steps that I'm going to lay out for you, you're not going to have any problems with onboarding new clients. They're going to be happy. Everything's going to be good. Let's just get started. So well-structured onboarding process sets the stage for successful client retention. It ensures clarity, manages expectations, which we already talked about, why that's important, and provides seamless transformation into service delivery. Effective onboarding minimizes client frustration, improves retention, and increases the likelihood of long-term collaboration, which you ultimately should do because we already talked about it. It is easier to keep your clients and make more money from them than to sign new clients. So here's a step-by-step guide to onboard them. Step 1, welcome them and just do a quick intro. So just send them a personalized welcome email. You can automate this. Provide a clear breakthrough of what to expect. Share, access relevant materials, portals, tools like Google Drive, Slack, dashboard. So invite them there where you're going to be communicating. And, just set up where you're tracking like a client card. If you're doing that on Notion, that's fine. If you're doing that on Google Drive, that's fine. Just invite them there. Assign a dedicated account manager or a point of contact, which if you're just starting out, you just have a few clients, that should be you. So step 2, initial documentation and agreements. Again, make sure everything is good with the agreements. Make sure everything's finalized. Provide them with the invoices. So how it should look, again, is they paid. We talked about in the sales module on how to collect the payments and what to do with appointment booking. This is where we sort of pick off. First they pay, then you sign the agreement, and then you move on to the onboarding. So this is it. After you have collected all the essential details through a structured onboarding form, which you should send out in the welcome and introduction email, you're going to move on to the next step, which is a kickoff call. So kickoff call is very, very important. So make sure you schedule one. The kickoff call is just going to be like an onboarding call where you're going to tell them all the expectations, everything, who's going to be the point of contact, what they should expect, how long like service delivery is going to take, onboarding is going to take, and yeah, just set the agenda. So just going back to the onboarding portal, I've actually placed an onboarding portal template just so you can help and see exactly visualize what should be in an onboarding form. This is what you should send out to prospects. I could not give you the exact Google form. For some reason, you cannot share it as like a template, but here is it in the Google Doc form. So you can just come here and see exactly like what sort of questions we ask. Is ultimately what you should be asking if you're doing something like lead generation yourself. So first of all, always ask for their name, email, company name, website, exactly like what they do, how would they, get results for their clients, who's exactly their target audience, ICPs, what are they doing that we could leverage. Please confirm you provided as much info as possible, and make sure you talk to them that if they use ChatGPT, you're gonna know, and they're just gonna have to refill the whole form. So make sure they use their own words. What exactly do they sell? Tell us what the company does in one simple answer, etc., etc. You can extend these as you want. This is just a format for you to see exactly what we're doing. We're going to show you this exactly more in detail in the future sections of what we're doing. Wanted to give you like a sort of a visualization to what to send them, etc., because this is really important. All right, so we talked about the kickoff. So kickoff call, again, just schedule an onboarding call, and then we go into account and tool setup. So grant access to necessary tools and softwares. For example, if you're doing like email marketing to them, just send access to Klaviyo, or if you're doing like lead generation email, like cold email, just send them access to Smart Lead. Obviously you're buying their domain, so just send them access to Porkbun as well. Make sure you create like an email for them that you're going to use. Something I can recommend you to do is, it's a temporary email service which is quite good, like mail.tm. That's definitely good. Or you can just create like a Gmail or a Google Workspace account, either which works. Integrate their accounts into automation tools, whatever automation tools you have set up, just make sure you have that. Ensure the tracking and reporting systems are correctly configured. And then we move on to step 5, which is execution, alignment, and success plans. So discuss client goals, KPIs, success benchmarks. So it's all very important to make sure they are in the know. So for example, if you're sending emails, if your KPI is, say, out of 1,000 emails, you should be receiving, at worst 10 replies, which is quite bad. That's 1%. Then, they should know that. And, with that, like, you should get like at least one meeting. If you're not hitting those KPIs, then you're sort of in trouble. And you should set these expectations. So they should know, okay, we're sending out 500 emails a day, so every 2 or so days we should get a meeting. All right, outline project milestones and timelines. So for example, it would mainly take like a week to fill them the onboarding form, maybe at max, but it takes you 2 weeks to set up the email campaigns, right? So you need to warm them up, you need to configure everything, buy the domains, etc. So make sure you keep that in mind with the clients and just discuss them ahead of time so they're in the know. All right, and finally, first deliverables and reporting access. So provide the first deliverables like campaign setup, content strategy, final initial audit, whatever. So grant access to reporting dashboard and the tracking progress. Make sure you have something going on. You have a copy of this inside the Notion CRM if you want to take a look at, but generally you should create something on your own, because obviously each and individual service that you offer is going to be unique. There's just not one copy fit service, because you could be doing like e-com, you could be doing email marketing, could be doing a whole bunch of stuff. So this is really just a framework for you to build off of. So based on this, you should create something on your own. Make sure you follow all these 6 steps and you're going to have a successful onboarding session with them. Alright, if you enjoyed this and you got value out of this masterclass and you want to thank me for taking my time to create it, I'm about to fall asleep. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel. Now, if you're serious about scaling your lead generation agency, or launching your lead generation offer, or even building your B2B agency, the Citadel is where you need to be. This is where I break down everything that I cannot share with you publicly, because simply too many of you would be using it and it would just stop working. So even if you're just starting from zero, I'm about to hand you frameworks, scripts, and automation tools so you can just copy and paste inside your own business and get you to 10K a month within 30 days. If you have a business already, but you need just more appointments or you just need help with closing, I'll hand you the exact sales scripts, automation tools, trackers that are crushing it for us as well as our clients right now. So with that in mind, it's not just knowledge again, it's coaching, it's the templates, it's the AI automations, it's the trackers, everything that we're running inside our own agency, we hand it all to you. Nothing is gate kept. So if you're just starting out or you have some decent clientele, we'll build your custom roadmap so you can execute it and scale to 6 figures a month. And well, if you're not ready for that, you can also join the free program below. It's again going to be linked in the description below. You're still going to get access to the 50 million leads for free, as well as hundreds of other members inside the community. Links are all in the description below. I'm about to go to sleep. I'll see you inside.